Hunter Kim Jun-Woo, within just a year of claiming the top spot in the domestic rankings, has swiftly risen to the world's pinnacle. A horde of journalists surround him, curiosity lighting up their faces as they inquire about his achievement of the coveted SSS rank. Their questions don't end there. They're eager to know if he has indeed received an offer from the International Hunter Association. As Kim Jun-Woo's group moves towards the dungeon gate, notorious for its extreme difficulty, the journalist sees the moment to seek his advice, especially for the benefit of his junior hunters. Despite it being his first deployment in quite some time, Kim Jun-Woo can't ignore the crowd that is gathered in front of the dungeon, teeming with reporters. Politely excusing himself, he emphasizes his current focus on the task at hand, which is to clear the daunting dungeon. His response appears to be expected, given the circumstances. Recognizing the value of media coverage, he decides to offer a special service that day. Turning back to face the journalists, he proclaims that their team's unwavering commitment lies with the safety of the citizens above all else, a promise that will endure unaltered no matter what challenges lay ahead. With that, the journalists bid him farewell, acknowledging that while he might be a figure with his fair share of controversies, he undeniably remains the best hunter. Kim Jun-Woo abruptly halts in his tracks as a journalist boldly broaches the topic of the recent incident involving the cleaning team. A palpable tension settles in the air, and Kim Jun-Woo casts a wary glance over his shoulder. The journalist elaborates, specifically referencing the episode where Kim Jun-Woo was alleged to have assaulted a member of the dungeon cleaning team, recounting that he had supposedly thrown the individual against a wall with great force. Kim Jun-Woo appears visibly unsettled, and the journalist, in a rather cheeky tone, presses on, acknowledging that Kim Jun-Woo might prefer to feign ignorance about the matter. However, he asserts that he, too, possesses a fair share of information, even mentioning a personal connection to the assaulted individual. With a sardonic twist, he remarks on the irony of how the world-ranking #1 hunter managed to evade any media scrutiny after reportedly engaging in a physical altercation with someone of his father's age. As the other journalists and reporters begin to exchange whispers and mutterings, it becomes evident that this revelation could indeed be headline-worthy. Kim Jun-Woo's expression narrows, and he dismisses it matter-of-factly as an unpleasant rumor before resolutely turning his attention back towards the dungeon gate. Undeterred, the journalist calls out mockingly, extending a wish of good luck for Kim Jun-Woo's duties today. The atmosphere grows tense, and Kim Jun-Woo's team members appear on edge as they continue on their path. In the Republic of Korea, the Supernatural Dimension Management Association, or simply the Association, stands as an institution dedicated to safeguarding the nation and its citizens from the threats posed by dungeons and the creatures that emerge from them. This organization has meticulously assembled individuals endowed with supernatural abilities, forming 4 specialized teams. Among these teams, the Operations Team, known as the Hunters, takes on the pivotal role of clearing dungeons. Within this team, Operations Team 1 enjoys prestigious status, boasting a flawless dungeon clearance success rate of 100%. Each of its members holds a high-ranking position among the nation's hunters. At the head of this elite group is Kim Jun-Woo, who has recently found himself thrust into the spotlight due to a controversial incident involving an altercation with an elderly individual. As the articles flood in with public opinions firmly against him, headlines envelop his name, and YouTube comments overflow with anger and disappointment, Kim Jun-Woo finds himself seething as he gazes at his phone. The car drives onwards as his secretary behind the wheel asks him what's troubling him, given their successful dungeon clearance. Jun-Woo's displeasure and anger are palpable as he reminds her that he had explicitly warned against the incident becoming public knowledge. When she speaks in her defense, his frustration erupts, and he demands to know the source of the leak, emphasizing the chaos it has unleashed on the internet. Pressing for more details, he inquires about the affiliation of the reporter who confronted him outside the gate. She informs him that the reporter was an ordinary civilian, in fact, the son of Park Jun-tae, the leader of the dungeon cleaning team, who was a victim in the incident that is now under scrutiny. Kim Jun-Woo's frustration mounts, and he lets out a string of curses, his stress palpable. His secretary, Lee, goes on to inform him that the problem extends beyond this single incident. Public opinion is fueling the resurgence of old incidents' testimonies. It's a storm that's only going to intensify, she cautions, suggesting that he should retreat to his home for the time being. With no immediate schedule to attend to, he should consider this an enforced vacation. His countenance hardens, and his presence exudes an air of menace as he questions Chief Lee, demanding to know if she comprehends his intense disdain for those who obstruct his path. With a reassuring nod, she affirms her understanding, prompting him to give her the instructions to prevent the situation from spiraling further out of control. He emphasizes the dire consequences his reputation would face if matters escalate. Sighing deeply, Kim Jun-Woo changes the topic, inquiring about the stance of the association's leader. Chief Lee informs him that the leader has remained conspicuously silent, preoccupied with an international association scouting case, and likely waiting for the chaos to subside. Jun-Woo, however, harbors suspicions, well aware that their leader is not one to withhold commentary. He senses that a rift may be looming, but he also recognizes the multitude of achievements he has delivered for the association and is ready to assert himself if necessary. Chief Lee offers reassurance, saying that his rank will remain unscathed, even amidst the uproar of public opinion. The provocative articles have fueled Kim Jun-Woo's initial rage, which is simmering beneath the surface as he drives toward the association. His team members had intervened after the dungeon clear, desperately preventing him from pursuing the reporter, and reluctantly, he now finds himself en route to the association. Though his temper has somewhat subsided, the embers of anger still smolder within him. He reflects on his celebrated past, a trajectory marked by accolades and awards as the protector of the citizens. He is the nation's youngest hunter, the first to achieve the coveted S rank, the world's inaugural SSS rank, securing both domestic and world rank 1, and even receiving a scouting offer from the International Hunter Association. Yet, all these years of remarkable achievements have been tarnished by recent events, leaving him no choice but to harbor a seething resentment. Chief Lee interrupts his thoughts, delving into the crux of the matter, and questions him about the altercation with the cleaning team leader. Kim Jun-Woo explains that the team leader initiated the conflict by grabbing him by the collar first. In response, she probes further, questioning why the team leader felt compelled to take such action, noting his generally unfavorable view of the cleaning team. She emphasizes that this marks the first direct conflict between him and the cleaning team, to which he responds with a lack of recollection, directing her to bring the team leader, Park Jun-tae, to him once they arrive at the association. He understands that resolving the matter swiftly is crucial before it escalates any further. Chief Lee acknowledges his sentiments with a nod of understanding, momentarily shifting her gaze from the road to meet his eyes. In the midst of their conversation, Kim Jun-Woo suddenly lifts his head, his eyes widening in sheer horror as he's met with the blinding headlights of a truck looming directly ahead. Chief Lee, too, cries out in a frantic mix of panic and alarm. The car hurtles perilously close to the truck, but in an instant, Kim Jun-Woo activates his skill, excess time, altering the car's trajectory by deftly swerving it to the left. Had he been even a second late, the outcome could have been catastrophic, painting the asphalt with blood. Shockingly, the truck doesn't make any attempt to brake or evade the collision. Chief Lee remains shivering and stunned, gripped by the shock of their narrow escape, with Chief Lee's head resting against the steering wheel in a momentary paralysis. Kim Jun-Woo's temper, already simmering, now ignites into a blazing fury. He emerges from the car, determined to confront the truck driver responsible for their harrowing encounter. Yet, as he takes only a few steps away from the vehicle, a series of strange devices burst from the ground, wrapping around his wrists with a vice-like grip. These are no ordinary restraints. He recognizes them as anti-supernatural arresting devices, rendering him immobile and powerless. Pinned in place and unable to wrench himself free, a truck hurtles toward him with frightening speed. Desperation and panic seize him as he attempts to employ his supernatural skills, but they prove futile. In an alarming collision, one truck strikes him from behind while another approaches head-on. The impact results in a thunderous explosion, and as the smoke clears, the outline of Kim Jun-Woo emerges, still standing. He's clearly wounded but emits an eerie laugh, pondering who would dare challenge him. A group of armed and masked individuals stands poised, the front line shielding those behind, and upon their leader's signal, they open fire with their rifles. It's an ambush that has been meticulously planned. For an ordinary hunter, there would be no chance to retaliate, but Kim Jun-Woo, having faced countless life and death battles within treacherous dungeons, refuses to succumb to something as mundane as this. Kim Jun-Woo's world spins as he finds himself facing a formidable supernatural firearm, known as the Titan, designed for dungeon clearing purposes. Dread courses through him as he falls to his knees before the leader of this unknown army. The gun emits a piercing blue light, and Kim Jun-Woo resigns himself to the gunshot that rings out, as he's struck at point-blank range. The system within him swiftly detects critical damage inflicted on his lungs, heart, liver, brain, and other vital organs. As the confirmation of heart failure arrives, the system calculates the probability of revival, only to ultimately confirm his death. Kim Jun-Woo is cast down from a bridge, hurtling towards the abyss below. As he plummets, a system window materializes, displaying the message that his death has unlocked a hidden skill, karma. With the acquisition of this hidden skill, he's set to return 10 years into the past. Upon his return, his occupation will be determined based on the karma accrued in his previous life. For a brief moment, the system loads the job assignment, and soon enough, the process is complete. In the present, a group of cleaning teams toils away within a dungeon, with just 45 minutes remaining until the next incursion. Amid the frenzy of activity, someone instructs Kim Jun-Woo to hasten and transport the pieces to the monster incinerator. Now, Kim Jun-Woo's occupation is part of the Republic of Korea Supernatural and Dimension Management Association, specifically assigned to the dungeon cleaning team. He's quickly realizing that the work is nothing short of exhausting. With vivid memories of the harrowing incident involving the strange military leader and the formidable firearm called Titan fresh in his mind, Kim Jun-Woo startles awake. He initially thinks he has a nightmare. Groggily, he contemplates just how much he even slept, given the stiffness that grips his entire body. As he scans his surroundings, he's met with a room in absolute disarray. Confusion envelops him as he tries to discern where he is, realizing that he's in a cramped 26-square-meter studio apartment that's in a state worse than a pigsty. It's immediately evident that this isn't his home. It's significantly smaller than even his bathroom. A fleeting thought crosses his mind about whether this might be Director Lee's residence, but he quickly dismisses the notion. She'd never let him set foot inside her home, even if the world were on the brink of destruction. Limping toward the room's door, he surveys his unfamiliar surroundings, his disorientation intensifying. It's during this moment of bewilderment that a sudden flashback floods his mind, recalling the system screen that had confirmed his death as he plummeted to what he believed was his demise. Wincing with both physical and mental discomfort, he clutches his head, grappling with the overwhelming confusion. And then, as his gaze settles on a nearby mirror, he's met with the reflection of a face from a decade ago. It's unmistakably the face of his 28-year-old self. Feeling a sense of unease mingled with reluctance, Kim Jun-Woo opens the system once more. A window materializes before him, and he gazes upon it with a mixture of horror and trepidation as the hidden skill, karma, unveils its effects. It reveals that the skill's influence has caused him to travel back in time a full decade, and most alarmingly, it states that this skill cannot be arbitrarily cancelled. Staring at the glowing screen, a sinking feeling of dread washes over him, gradually dispelling the notion that he had merely awakened from a nightmare. The grim reality sets in that he had truly died. Further perusal of the system's information reveals that his occupation has been reassigned due to the skill's influence. He can't help but mutter curses under his breath, reminiscing about his ascent from an 18-year-old rookie to a rank-a hunter by the age of 28. Back then, his ranking had soared to 22nd in Korea and 525th in the world. If only this were a simple return to his life a decade ago, he would have undoubtedly continued his rise as a shining star in the hunter world. However, his new occupation is nothing short of devastating. He's now a dungeon cleaner. The great Kim Jun-Woo, reduced to such a role, is unfathomable to him. The system informs him of one potential way to cancel the karma skill, ascending to the position of Secretary General of the International Supernatural Association within 5 years. Failure to achieve this would result in Hunter Kim Jun-Woo's complete erasure. The weight of the situation is overwhelming, and he struggles to make sense of it all. The daunting choice between reclaiming his previous life or laboring forever as a cleaner hangs heavily over him, shrouding his future in uncertainty. The International Supernatural Association holds a position of unparalleled global influence, overseeing all associations worldwide. The role of Secretary General within this organization wields more power than even the President of the United States, making it the highest position of authority on the planet. Yet, even Kim Jun-Woo, who had once achieved the world's first SSS rank, failed to secure a nomination for this prestigious post. In the face of this seemingly insurmountable task of ascending to such a powerful position within 5 years, Kim Jun-Woo is left baffled. He can't comprehend how this can be achieved now, and the combination of his personal reluctance and the perceived impossibility leaves him deeply frustrated and annoyed. He contemplates ignoring the concept of karma altogether, questioning who would truly care about such a thing. He believes that once he regains his hunter skills, achieving the SSS rank again would be a walk in the park. However, his optimism is abruptly shattered when he discovers that all his hunter skills are locked. Panic sets in as he faces the reality that he's unable to access the abilities that once made him a formidable hunter. Then, a new system window pops up, congratulating him for acquiring a new skill. He brightens up, hoping for something useful, but his enthusiasm turns to aggravation as he discovers that the skill he's acquired is called Cleaning Obsession, a passive learning skill. In a fit of frustration, he screams out, grappling with the mounting anxiety that this new reality brings. Lying sprawled on the bed, Kim Jun-Woo grapples with the cruel twist of fate that has befallen him. He can scarcely believe that all his life's remarkable achievements have evaporated into nothingness. Even though he's been relegated to the role of a cleaner, he clings to his SSS rank pride as a reminder of his former glory. Moreover, he harbors a burning need to identify the individuals responsible for his brutal murder. They were undoubtedly no ordinary troops, leaving him to ponder whether they belonged to a private guild or had ties to the association itself. Just as he's lost in thought, his phone rings, and he hastily answers. The voice on the other end introduces himself as Team Leader Park. He inquires whether Kim Jun-Woo might be too occupied to come to work today, noting that it's been an hour past the reporting time. He wonders if Kim Jun-Woo is feeling unwell, especially considering the strenuous nature of their last dungeon. Team Leader Park then chuckles and assures Kim Jun-Woo that today's assignment isn't as grueling. However, 2 workers who accompany Team Leader Park seem to suspect that Kim Jun-Woo may have shirked his duties due to the challenging nature of the work. They suggest he should have simply called to resign if he found it too hard. As the bitter and indignant voices of the workers come through the phone, Kim Jun-Woo feels his facial muscles twitching with indignation. Regardless of his current circumstances, he finds it difficult to accept being looked down upon by cleaners. It's a stark reminder of the gap between his past and present. Team Leader Park quickly rebukes the workers, silencing their disrespectful comments. He then returns his attention to Kim Jun-Woo, showing understanding for his situation. He grants Kim Jun-Woo permission to take a break if the work becomes too strenuous and advises him to send a text the next time in advance if anything comes up. He asks Kim Jun-Woo to save his number as Team Leader Park Jun-tae. The name triggers a memory in Kim Jun-Woo, prompting him to urgently inquire about the team leader's name once more. In response, Team Leader Park Jun-tae chuckles, acknowledging that his name can be quite difficult to remember. He kindly repeats it for Kim Jun-Woo. With newfound determination, Kim Jun-Woo agrees to head to work immediately, catching Team Leader Park Jun-tae by surprise. In a swift motion, Kim Jun-Woo is already at the door, ready to head to work as a dungeon cleaner. Kim Jun-Woo's commute to work involves taking the public bus, a situation that causes him dismay. The lack of suitable clothing options at his disposal surprised him. His astonishment mounted as he stepped out of the house, only to discover that his beloved Benz was nowhere to be found. Left with no other choice, he begrudgingly decided to hail a taxi, but his frustration peaked when he realized that his wallet was devoid of a single penny. The mere thought that he, Kim Jun-Woo, has resorted to riding a city bus intensifies his anger. His current existence is a world apart from his previous life, a reality that has fundamentally altered his relationship with the world. This transformation also means that the altercation with Park Jun-tae and the violence he had inflicted upon him in his former life have no bearing on his present circumstances. However, if Park Jun-tae was indeed involved in his past life's death, it takes on a different significance. There's a palpable sense of suspicion surrounding his death. Someone deliberately orchestrated the accident to grab his attention. Additionally, the presence of an anti-supernatural arresting device aimed at nullifying his skills raises further questions. Lastly, the firearm used to shoot him, the Titan, isn't an ordinary weapon. It's an anti-monster and supernatural subjugation firearm of the highest caliber, one of the most advanced and expensive tools in the realm of firearms. The intricacies of the technology and the exorbitant price tag only deepen the mystery surrounding his death. The idea that Park Jun-tae, a dungeon cleaner, could have access to an item like the Titan firearm seems implausible to Kim Jun-Woo. Nevertheless, he entertains the notion that perhaps someone more knowledgeable assisted him out of spite. He couldn't help but recall that Park Jun-tae's son seemed to hold a grudge against him as well. The fact that a simple push was labeled as assault doesn't sit well with Kim Jun-Woo. In his view, Park Jun-tae should have discerned that he was merely using words to goad his displeasure. When Kim Jun-Woo first met with Park Jun-tae, the latter asked him to withdraw the request to the association. Kim Jun-Woo inquired about Park Jun-tae's identity, and the team leader introduced himself as part of the dungeon cleaner team. Kim Jun-Woo couldn't recall ever hearing this name before. In response to Kim Jun-Woo's inquiry about his business with him, Jun-tae explained that he heard about Kim Jun-Woo's suggestion to reduce the number of cleaning teams at the top. He pointed out that the shortage of personnel was already causing difficulties, and further reductions would only compound their problems. Kim Jun-Woo questioned why Park Jun-tae was approaching him with this matter, as he had no authority to make such decisions. He suggested that Park Jun-tae should bring the issue to the regulation team, as they are the ones responsible for making such determinations. However, Park Jun-tae politely reminded Kim Jun-Woo of the significant influence he wielded within the association. He pointed out that Kim Jun-Woo's words carry considerable weight and could easily sway the decision-making process. With a subtle request for reconsideration, Park Jun-tae emphasized the need to maintain the current team numbers and not further diminish their ranks. Kim Jun-Woo had anticipated that his suggestion to downsize the cleaning teams might come to the team's attention, but he hadn't expected them to send representatives to meet with him in person. Moreover, it was evident from this man's demeanor that engaging in conversation would be nothing short of an annoyance to him. Kim Jun-Woo drew an analogy to emphasize his point. He likened the act of lizards severing their tails to an inefficient form of defense. However, when faced with imminent danger, lizards will readily sacrifice their tails because it's their last resort and their means of survival. Regardless of how inefficient and detrimental it may seem, it becomes the sole option to ensure their continued existence. Park Jun-tae attempted to interject, but Kim Jun-Woo cut him off, challenging him to consider whether they are truly indispensable to the world. Kim Jun-Woo then revealed the association's current financial troubles, indicating that they are contemplating salary adjustments for the top hunters. Park Jun-tae was taken aback by this revelation and linked the downsizing decision to its impact on the hunters' salaries. Kim Jun-Woo underscored that the association's primary mission was to safeguard the citizens from dungeons and monsters, and this crucial task was carried out by hunters like himself. If the association fails to adequately compensate these hunters, then who will? Given this predicament, he felt compelled to resort to the last option available to him. As Kim Jun-Woo began to walk away, Park Jun-tae couldn't contain his frustration and called out to him. In response, Jun-Woo retorted dismissively, suggesting that the cleaning team didn't contribute much. This remark left Park Jun-tae indignant, and he demanded to know if Jun-Woo even understood the nature of their work. Kim Jun-Woo condescendingly assumed they were simply responsible for cleaning and informed Park Jun-tae that the association would determine how many people they would let go, urging him to move on. Park Jun-tae, however, declared that the cleaning team took pride in their work in their own way. Kim Jun-Woo brushed off his sentiments and continued to walk away. Driven to desperation, Park Jun-tae sank to his knees and begged Kim Jun-Woo to reconsider. Annoyed by the pleading, Kim Jun-Woo returned to Park Jun-tae, leaning over him, and suggested that they should be grateful. He pointed out that the cleaners didn't face life-threatening situations like the hunters, and they made a comfortable living cleaning in the background. Kim Jun-Woo even went so far as to refer to them as parasites, further fueling Park Jun-tae's anger. In a fit of frustration, Park Jun-tae gripped Kim Jun-Woo's collar, but Kim Jun-Woo effortlessly pushed him back against the wall. It was only then that he realized he had pushed Park Jun-tae with more force than intended, and he regretted it upon seeing the blood. Frustrated and annoyed with the situation, Kim Jun-Woo decided to involve Chief Lee and called her to take care of the matter. In the present, Kim Jun-Woo is standing outside a cordoned-off dungeon gate. He identifies it as a danger-grade yellow-level dungeon, in which the Foxtrot Centipede is the boss. Memories of participating in the subjugation of this dungeon when he was 28 come flooding back, solidifying the reality of the situation. On the other side, Park Jun-tae waves him over, and Jun-Woo glances his way. Finally, Kim Jun-Woo is face-to-face with the man, Park Jun-tae, who, in this new timeline, has made Kim Jun-Woo a dungeon cleaner. Approaching him with an air of friendliness, Park Jun-tae greets Kim Jun-Woo, who scrutinizes him carefully from head to toe. Park Jun-tae presents the image of a typical middle-aged man in his 50s, dressed in modest clothing, a familiar sight that aligns with Kim Jun-Woo's memories. At first glance, he doesn't seem like someone capable of taking a life. Park Jun-tae inquires about whether Kim Jun-Woo had breakfast and proceeds to introduce him to the rest of the team. He mentions that he knew Jun-Woo would come because he appeared sincere from the very beginning. Cleaner hand Sang Hae-hyuk, from Cleaning Team 3, displays irritation and suggests that Kim Jun-Woo only arrived because he was caught trying to leave. Cleaner Im Hui-jang, also from the same team, shares that during their previous encounter, Kim Jun-Woo had claimed he couldn't contribute much and indeed did very little. Cleaner Mun So-yeon, another member of the same team, questions Park Jun-tae's decision to add more members when 4 should suffice. Park Jun-tae attempts to calm them and redirects their focus toward the task at hand. Sang Hae-hyuk informs him, in response to his query, that they have 45 minutes left. The others express surprise at the tight timeline, with Sang Hae-hyuk noting that Kim Jun-Woo is an hour late, which has reduced their available time. Kim Jun-Woo observes their impolite behavior as they all fixate on the glowing dungeon rating. Park Jun-tae acknowledges that it can't be helped at this point and urges the team to get to work quickly before they face further criticism. Kim Jun-Woo is handed a gas mask, and he gazes at it pensively. Park Jun-tae, noticing his hesitation, inquires if there's any issue. Kim Jun-Woo, wearing a puzzled expression, asks for clarification regarding the duties of dungeon cleaners. He knows that the Republic of Korea's Supernatural and Dimension Management Association, known as the Association, comprises 4 primary teams: the Control Team, the Hunter Support Team, the Operations Team, and the Dungeon Cleaning Team. The Control Team oversees dungeon appearances and information gathering. The Hunter Support Team handles the production and maintenance of weapons and items, in addition to providing support for various tasks. The Operations Team is comprised of hunters specializing in clearing monsters within dungeons. As the team proceeds into the dungeon, Park Jun-tae asks Im Hui-jang if he's disinfecting the area as they move forward. Hui-jang confirms that he is, but he mentions that the corridor is wider than anticipated, which might lead to an insufficient amount of disinfectant solution. Suggesting that a wider spray pattern would resolve the issue, Park Jun-tae directs Sang Hae-hyuk to determine the location of the boss room. He also instructs Mun So-yeon to monitor the internal gas levels. Emphasizing that the boss is relatively large this time, he predicts a longer dismantling process and urges the team to hurry. Kim Jun-Woo remains perplexed by the activities of the dungeon cleaning team, as their role remains unknown to him. When he starts to move in a different direction, Park Jun-tae calls him back, cautioning him about the dangers of wandering alone in the expansive dungeon. Kim Jun-Woo points out that Park Jun-tae himself had mentioned they were heading to the boss room. Park Jun-tae doesn't dispute this and instead instructs Jun-Woo to follow them closely, explaining that the boss room is in the opposite direction. Kim Jun-Woo, however, remains perplexed, as he firmly believes that the boss room is straight ahead. This confusion baffles Park Jun-tae, irritates Sang-hyuk, and leads So Yeon to suggest that Jun-Woo may not want to work. Hui Chang is frustrated due to their limited time and Jun-Woo's apparent defiance. Sang-hyuk proposes that they simply ignore Jun-Woo and proceed with their duties. He then moves forward and obtrusively hands Jun-Woo a map that the control team had provided, telling him to check the location of the boss room for himself. Jun-Woo examines the map carefully. The maps for cleared dungeons are meticulously created by the hunters who participated in the operation, making it highly unlikely for them to be incorrect. Despite this, Jun-Woo adamantly claims that the map is wrong and asserts that the boss room is indeed straight ahead. He expresses doubts about the functionality of the control team, revealing his limited interaction with them. Sang-hyuk becomes increasingly frustrated and wonders if Jun-Woo is under the influence of drugs, while Park Jun-tae asks Jun-Woo how he can be so sure about the direction of the boss room. Jun-Woo is on the verge of revealing the truth, that he knows the boss room's location because he had cleared this dungeon before, but he stops himself mid-sentence, realizing that they wouldn't believe him if he disclosed this fact. Instead, he simply shrugs and agrees to continue in the direction they suggest. As Kim Jun-Woo follows the team, with Park Jun-tae walking beside him and the others ahead, he inquires about the significance of the 45-minute time limit that Jun-tae had mentioned earlier. Jun-tae explains that it's the remaining time until the dungeon closes. Jun-Woo's memory is jogged, and he recalls that all dungeons naturally disappear after being cleared, typically within an average of 2 hours. Most hunters don't pay much attention to this, as they leave the dungeon immediately after clearing it. However, this time frame holds great importance for the cleaning team, which enters the dungeon once it's been cleared. Jun-Woo questions the necessity of cleaning the dungeon if it's going to disappear anyway. Jun-tae chuckles and proceeds to clarify that a cleared dungeon doesn't actually vanish. It merely goes on a break until the monsters return. Hearing this, Jun-Woo nods in understanding. Jun-tae then elaborates on the issue. If the dungeon reopens and there are piles of monster corpses lying around, it creates several problems. Jun-Woo doesn't immediately see the issue, but Jun-tae insists that it's problematic. He emphasizes that it can make it easier for hunters to get lost, as well as pose a danger due to the lethal gas emitted by decomposing monsters. Additionally, a buildup of corpses can restrict the movements of the hunters, directly impacting their ability to clear the dungeon. In essence, the role of the cleaning team is to facilitate the hunters' focus on clearing the dungeon without distractions. Therefore, Jun-tae asserts that they should take pride in their work, because, without them, there would be no hunters. Park Jun-tae chuckles amiably, but inwardly, Jun-Woo is still skeptical about the importance of their work. Jun-tae goes on to explain that the main tasks of their cleaning team include disposing of monsters, cleaning up the byproducts of the clearing process, and ensuring that no traces of the hunters are left behind. He even mentions the rare possibility of rescuing hunters from dungeons, although such an occurrence has never happened before, at least not in Jun-Woo's lifetime. Jun-Woo finds the idea of a cleaner rescuing a hunter unheard of, but he's beginning to see that this line of work might not be as purposeless as he initially thought. As they reach a gate and stop, they believe it should be the boss room based on the map. Sang-hyuk knocks on the gate, but to their shock, the gate disappears, revealing the cave terrain behind it. Jun-Woo points out that he had told them this wasn't the right place. Hui Chang realizes that he wasn't lying after all. They turn to their team leader, Park Jun-tae, for guidance on what to do next. After huddling together for a moment, Jun-tae asks how much time they have left, and Sang-hyuk reports that they have 22 minutes. Jun-tae believes it should be enough, and the team members agree that it's better than facing criticism. Jun-Woo, frustrated, exclaims, demanding to know what they mean by enough. Yun-Tae cheerfully clarifies that they are referring to the time left for work and that they should focus on their assigned tasks. Jun-Woo is worried that, with only 22 minutes left, the dungeon will close. It takes a week at least for a clear dungeon to reappear, or it can even take a year. Jun-Tae tries to dissuade his worries by simply replying that they'll stay locked up here if that happens. Jun-Woo considers that equal to death. He incredulously demands why they are all risking their lives just to clean. But it has always been like this for them. They tell Jun-Woo to leave if he doesn't like it. They never expected anything from him anyway. As they all pass him by, grumbling about him, Jun-Woo starts when So-Yeon comes to stand in front of him. She glares at him before moving ahead as well. Jun-Woo gets angry at the dismissal and disrespect of his peers. He has 15 years of hunting experience, during which he never once failed a clearing. The result was achieving the world's first SSS rank, as well as the world's #1 rank. He can't stomach the fact that someone like him is being belittled in the dungeon by the cleaners. He stops the others in their tracks all of a sudden and mentions a small passage that he knows is in the room. He forces them to listen as he explains that the distance from there to the boss room is 500 meters. If they take the shortest route through that passage, it'll take 8 minutes. If they run, it'll only take 5 minutes. Jun-Woo then assumes the lead of their group and moves forward, inviting them to leave if they don't like it. They all run after him and enter the boss room. The Foxtrot Centipede, a centipede-type monster that is over 10 meters tall, lies at the center. Looking at the room's condition, Jun-Woo surmises that it must have been a fierce battle. Assuming it was a 20-member team, casualties would be around 5 to 6 people. But he notices that they were still able to find the key point. The monster's weakness is the hollowed part of the forehead just above its huge chin. Sang-Huk steps forward to quickly deal with the monster, but Jun-Woo pushes him back just in time to protect him as the boss monster rears up, glowing with an ominous red energy. The group is shocked to see that the monster is still alive when they had presumed it to be cleared. Taking the monster down is going to be hard for Jun-Woo since he doesn't have any of the skills. However, just as suddenly as it rose, the boss monster falls back down to the ground. Jun-Woo concludes it must have been rigor mortis and curses out the operation team for being careless enough not to check for it. Jun-Woo's team members assume it is the first time he has encountered a boss monster, and considering the blank look on his face, they suggest he stay back as they clear everything up. This sets Jun-Woo on edge, and instead of listening to them, he snatches a knife and approaches the fallen monster, much to the shock of his team. As he takes position over the monster, Jun-Woo tells them that they will break their wrists if they put in the knife without knowing anything. He demonstrates how the knife goes between the 3rd, 6th, and 12th segments and how they'll be wasting their energy if they put it anywhere else. He notices that the nerves are still responsive and tells his team to ignore them even if they move while they are cutting. His teammates are all shocked at his apparent expertise and break out of their dazed stupor only when Jun-Woo calls them to action. He continues to nag them as they all get to the task of cutting up the monster. He tells them not to step on the blood. It's not poisonous, but it's a strong adhesive. Seeing Jun-Woo move about confidently, Sang-Hyuk assumes the team leader showed him the control team's file to try to help out a newbie. When Gun-Tae shakes his head, Sang-Hyuk can't believe that a novice cleaner could know all that without help. It is all information that is not even in the file. He demands to know how Jun-Woo came to find out about it, all the while the system window showing Jun-Woo's active skill, cleaning obsession, blinks above his head. Soon, the dismantling of the monster will be complete. Jun-Woo is shocked to find himself feeling rewarded after a cleaning job, while his teammates praise him for his exceptional work. He's hardly able to believe it's his first time. With only 5 minutes remaining until the limit, Jun-Woo suggests they all head out. As they make their way back, Park Jun-Tak comments that it was easier than he expected, and he credits Jun-Woo for their success. However, Jun-Woo is preoccupied because he has stepped on some blood, which he suspects is leaking from a hole in a bag. So Yeon expresses concern and informs the team leader that Jun-Woo can't move. Despite their worry, Jun-Woo brushes off their concerns and tells them to stay back, insisting that he's fine. Jun-Woo realizes that the centipede's blood is really quite adhesive, and even with his hunter strength, he can't free himself from it. However, he knows that it's vulnerable to high heat, so he attempts to use his skill called Hellfire to melt the adhesive blood by aiming his palm at his foot. To his dismay, he finds that the skill is unavailable as it's locked, leaving him looking somewhat foolish standing there with his palm outstretched. In a race against time with only 55 seconds left, Park Jun-tae takes quick action. He asks Wee-jang if he brought the rope and instructs him to tie it around Jun-Woo. He then directs the rest of the team to hold the other end of the rope. They all pull with all their strength, but to their surprise, Jun-Woo doesn't budge. They attempt another pull, but it becomes evident that their efforts are in vain. With only limited time remaining, Jun-tae suggests that Jun-Woo should take off his hazmat suit. However, So Yeon urgently points out that the gas level is dangerously high, and removing the suit could be perilous. In frustration, Jun-tae demands to know what they should do, emphasizing that they will all be trapped if they don't act quickly. This statement surprises Jun-Woo, who wonders why Jun-tae mentioned all of them being trapped when he's the only one who can't move. He reflects on the situation, likening himself to a lizard's tail and questioning why the team is not abandoning him in this dire moment. In a tense moment, Jun-tae orders Jun-Woo to take off his hazmat suit immediately, urging him to come to his senses. As Jun-Woo complies, he inwardly assesses the situation, thinking that this team appears to be less intelligent than lizards. Jun-tae then instructs everyone else to leave, emphasizing that those who can must survive. Sang-hyuk questions the absurdity of this plan, but Jun-tae asserts his authority as the team leader and is firm in his decision. With only 10 seconds remaining, Sang-hyuk looks at Jun-tae for a moment before reluctantly leaving with the rest of the team. As the countdown reaches its final moments, Jun-tae steps forward, swiftly helping Jun-Woo out of his suit, and then sheds his own suit. Jun-Woo, now wearing Jun-tae's suit, and with the stuck shoe left behind, the two of them, supporting each other, hurry towards the entrance, both desperate to escape. The remaining members stand on edge just outside the gate, the countdown ticking down to a mere 5 seconds. With only 3 seconds left, Jun-tae and Jun-Woo are on the verge of reaching the gate. Filled with anxiety, Jun-Woo quickens his pace. Yet, as the timer reaches its conclusion, the gate slams shut, sealing the dungeon. Outside, So Yeon anxiously opens her eyes and spots Jun-Woo lying on the road with Jun-tae kneeling beside him. Relieved, she, along with the rest of the team, rushes towards them, overjoyed to see their team leader safe and sound. Jun-tae lets out a nervous laugh, relieved that they all made it out of the dungeon alive. Lying on the floor, Jun-Woo still can't believe the close call he had just experienced in a dungeon with no monsters while performing mere cleaning duties. Jun-tae offers him a hand and asks if he's okay as he helps him up. Jun-tae expresses relief that the gas level turned out to be lower than he had initially thought. He remarks that Jun-Woo worked hard on his first dungeon of the day and mentions that they should consider themselves lucky since it could have been worse. Jun-Woo, after processing what Jun-tae said, asks him again to confirm if it was indeed the first dungeon of the day. Jun-tae confirms this, stating that they've just started. When Jun-Woo inquires about how much more work they have to do, Jun-tae cheerfully raises his palm, displaying all 5 fingers. This revelation appalls Jun-Woo. He realizes the grim truth of the situation. There are 8 operations teams in the SEAL branch alone, and a total of 96 teams nationwide. If you include freelancers not affiliated with the association, there are approximately 11,300 registered hunters in Korea. In contrast, there are only 5 dungeon cleaning teams, comprising a total of 25 people. Each team has to clean an average of 3.3 dungeons per day, and on unlucky days, they might have to clean more than 5. Today, to Jun-Woo's utter despair, seems to be one of those unlucky days. After finishing their cleaning duties, Jun-tae suggests they have a team dinner. The others initially protest against Jun-tae footing the bill once again, but he insists that it's customary for the leader to cover such expenses. Sang-hyuk suggests that everyone should contribute instead. Jun-tae then calls out to Jun-Woo, who is already walking away, and invites him to join them, noting that he's the main character of the day. Hui-jang urges Jun-Woo to make a quick decision, but Jun-Woo remains where he is and declines the invitation. This surprises the rest of the team. Jun-Woo, inwardly, decides there's no need to build a relationship with them. He starts to explain his reasons for not joining, but Jun-tae intervenes, assuring him that he won't force him to come, and that it's fine if he doesn't want to. Jun-Woo contemplates explaining further, but ultimately decides against it, bidding them goodbye as he walks away. As he takes a few steps, he hears So Yeon commend him for his excellent work today and hopes to see him tomorrow. Sang-hyuk also tells him to return safely. Jun-Woo pauses, seemingly thoughtful. As he lies on his bed that night, Kim Jun-Woo reflects on the circumstances surrounding his past life. He realizes that Park Jun-tae, the team leader, couldn't have been the one who killed him in his previous life. Park doesn't seem heartless enough to commit murder out of resentment. He considers who might have had a grudge against him, apart from Park Jun-tae. He remembers various individuals, such as Yang Kwon-mo, the youngest of the team whom he often berated, Min Yoo-jin, his former romantic partner with whom he had a tumultuous breakup, and Hwang Dong-hui from the control team, who was the recipient of Jun-Woo's frustration in the form of kicks to the shin. Realizing there are several people who could potentially hold grudges against him, Jun-Woo becomes annoyed. He also questions the point of seeking revenge, since the person who killed him in his previous life is likely a stranger now. Ultimately, his main goal is to remove the karma that binds him to his current situation and return to his previous life. To achieve this, he needs to become the Secretary General of the International Supernatural Association. Jun-Woo laments the fact that without his skills, he can't simply become a hunter again or find an alternative path, such as joining the control team. Suddenly, a realization dawns on him, prompting him to sit up and open the system window. His eyes widen in surprise as he notices something he hadn't been able to properly check earlier that morning. It's the existence of skill unlocking conditions. Every skill he discovers has its own specific requirement that must be met for it to be unlocked. Excitement courses through him as he realizes this, and he thinks to himself that if this is the case, there's no reason for him to remain just a cleaner. However, as he begins to read through the unlock conditions, his initial hope quickly wanes. Currently, the only condition that has been met is a single day of work, which has unlocked the skill known as Hyper Boost, while all the rest are rather impossible. Over the past week, Kim Jun-Woo has been adapting to his new life as a dungeon cleaner. He's endured the daily grind of taking a crowded bus to work, cleaning a total of 25 dungeons, using up 6 10-liter bottles of cleaning solution, and dismantling 30 monsters. Amidst this challenging routine, he managed to unlock the Hyper Boost skill, thanks to the random condition of working for one day. Hyper Boost is a valuable mobility skill, offering increased speed and agility. However, it's primarily useful in combat situations and can't be utilized for training or everyday activities. Despite this limitation, Jun-Woo recognizes that having this skill is better than nothing, especially given his current circumstances. The requirements of achieving an average annual salary of 60 million won and obtaining the #1 job reference appear to be incredibly challenging, especially in his current role as a dungeon cleaner, which is one of the most demanding jobs. However, Jun-Woo identifies some relatively more achievable unlock conditions, such as increasing interest in the dungeon cleaning team among members of the association and expanding the budget for the dungeon cleaning team. While these conditions are somewhat abstract, he believes they are attainable with the right approach. One particularly straightforward avenue for unlocking skills is by raising interest in the association itself. Jun-Woo realizes that, as a former SSS rank hunter with knowledge of events from the next 10 years, he could significantly boost the association's reputation and generate interest. However, he acknowledges that the association won't easily accept the words of a mere dungeon cleaner. Jun-Woo briefly contemplates reaching out to his former team members to build trust and cooperation, but he quickly dismisses the idea, recognizing the challenge of contacting them among the thousands of hunters in Korea. His introspection is cut short when he realizes he's missed his bus stop, prompting him to call out an alarm as the bus continues on its route. Jun-Woo arrives at the gate to find only two of his team members, So Yeon and Sung-hyuk, present. When he inquires about the absence of the team leader, Sang-hyuk informs him that Park Jun-tae went to buy more cleaning solutions. So Yeon mentions that Hui Jang took a break for personal reasons. Jun-Woo questions why the team leader went out at this moment, to which Sung-hyuk retorts by asking why Jun-Woo arrived late by 10 minutes. Jun-Woo explains that he missed his stop. Sung-hyuk responds with a light laugh, offering him coffee that he bought to pass the time. Sung-hyuk's friendly attitude contrasts sharply with his demeanor on Jun-Woo's first day, and Jun-Woo reflects that his own determination to keep going despite the challenges has exceeded his own expectations. Jun-Woo doesn't want to waste any more time and urges Sung-hyuk to enter the dungeon. While casually sipping his coffee, Sung-hyuk informs him that the clearing is still in progress. Jun-Woo looks up at the dungeon gate, realizing that it's not a dungeon he has personally cleared. However, he knows it's at most a middle-aged blue-gray dungeon, and there's no reason for the hunters to struggle this much or exceed their scheduled clearing time. He finds it baffling why they are taking so long. As he sits and waits with his team members, Jun-Woo mutters that the hunters are pathetic. He understands that he can't go in and help with the clearing, but he expects it to be over soon. However, as time passes, he realizes that he made a mistake in thinking this way. 30 minutes have gone by, and the hunters still haven't emerged from the dungeon, leaving Jun-Woo feeling agitated. His frustration boils over as he openly questions the competence of the hunters, wondering why it's taking them so long. Just then, So Yeon points out that they are finally emerging. Jun-Woo watches as the hunters stumble out, clearly exhausted and gasping for breath. He assesses that they are all D-rank hunters and finds it ridiculous that they look like this after clearing a blue dungeon. He thinks they are not worth their salary and considers it a waste. Concerned, So Yeon tries to hush him, warning that the hunters might hear his rude comments. Jun-Woo watches as a familiar face emerges from the gate. Kim Min-ju, a former member of his team. She has long black hair and a flawless complexion, resembling that of an actress. Surprised to see her, he wonders why she's here. Kim Min-ju appears to feel his gaze and approaches him, inquiring if there's any issue between them. Even though he is internally annoyed by the coincidence of meeting her, Jun-Woo assures her that he doesn't have a problem with her. He quietly observes her as she walks away. He had considered getting in touch with his past team members earlier, but Kim Min-ju is an exception. She's the woman who seemed to hate him for no apparent reason in his past life. When he suggested that she had no choice but to retire due to her injury, she responded with an unfathomable array of curses. She didn't even realize he was saying it for her own good. Nevertheless, she was someone who had an immense amount of pride, and that didn't mean her skills were lacking in any way. Noticing Jun-Woo's intense gaze earlier, So Yeon asks him if he knows the hunter he's been staring at. Jun-Woo quickly averts his gaze and tells her that he doesn't know the person. She just looks like someone he knows. So Yeon then teases him, saying that his expression seemed pretty menacing, and she thought he might be looking at an ex-girlfriend. Jun-Woo, feeling indignant, turns to her, but she laughs and playfully apologizes, admitting she was just joking. Just then, Jun-tae returns too. Upon approaching, he notes the playful atmosphere and asks if something has happened. Jun-Woo tries to brush it off, but Sung-hyuk brings up the same assumption So Yeon made, further irritating Jun-Woo. Jun-Woo moves away from the group toward the dungeon gate, urging them to start working. It's a blue-grade building-type dungeon, and as its name suggests, it's a dungeon constructed within an actual building. Once inside the dungeon, surrounded by the remnants of the hunters' clearing efforts, Sung-hyuk turns to Jun-Woo and inquires if he studied this dungeon in advance as well. Jun-Woo admits that he doesn't know much about it, except that the boss is a human-type monster. Privately, he reflects on the past week, during which he's been bombarded with questions about dungeons and monsters due to his supposed extensive knowledge. His excuse for knowing it all is, of course, an absurd lie, but so far, no one has challenged him on it. Jun-Woo points out to the team that since it's a building type, the byproducts might not be very noticeable, so they should make sure to clean every nook and cranny. He specifically mentions that blood tends to collect under the stairs, so they should pay careful attention to that. Park Jun-tae then asks Jun-Woo to accompany him to the boss room, and Jun-Woo agrees. As they move ahead, Jun-Woo expresses his disgust for the human-type monsters they encounter, as they look exactly like human corpses. These human-type monsters are called Vega. They resemble women and are about 160 centimeters tall. As Jun-tae gets down on one knee to examine a Vega corpse, Jun-Woo suggests that they can take it without dismantling, given their size. Jun-tae explains that dismantling is uncomfortable, and then notices that Jun-Woo seems to be blanking out. Although Jun-Woo brushes Jun-tae's concern off, he senses that something is off. Jun-Woo knows that Vegas aren't particularly dangerous monsters, and as long as one is mindful of their fast movements, they aren't very difficult to defeat. However, he can't comprehend why Kim Min-ju would have struggled against one of them. Jun-Woo couldn't shake off the puzzling thoughts about Kim Min-ju's behavior. 10 years ago, she was a B-rank hunter, a considerable power level. In fact, if it weren't for her injury, she might have even reached S-rank. Jun-Woo couldn't deny her skill, especially in swordsmanship, which was superior to his at the time. Despite his personal feelings towards her, he knew she was capable. Thus, it seemed unlikely that a simple blue-grade boss monster would frighten her. Taking charge of handling the corpse alone, Jun-tae asks Jun-Woo to snap out of his daze, urging him to lend a hand in carrying the lifeless body. Jun-Woo, apologizing for his momentary distraction, begins to move toward Jun-tae. In that fleeting moment, he contemplates the futility of it all, doubting that he will ever lay eyes on Kim Min-ju again. As Jun-Woo approaches the lifeless monster, something catches his attention. His gaze falls upon the blade marks all over the monster's legs. Abruptly, he halts in his tracks, his eyes widening as a realization dawns upon him. It's 5 in the morning, and Jun-Woo finds himself with just about 2 hours of sleep. This marks the 3rd consecutive day of the unfortunate schedule, a streak of bad luck that even his days as a hunter couldn't match in intensity. They stand there outside the gate, waiting impatiently for the hunters to finish clearing the dungeon. Sung-hyuk, in particular, wears a scowl of annoyance, irritated by the seemingly unnecessary wait. He can't help but voice his frustration, suggesting that the cleaner should be called in only after the job is done. Jun-tae, awkwardly chiming in, adds that this delay isn't an uncommon occurrence. Yawning and with eyes moistened by exhaustion, Jun-Woo empathizes with Sung-hyuk's irritation. It's been over an hour past the scheduled time, and patience is wearing thin. So Yeon, noticing Jun-Woo's fatigue, remarks on his tired appearance. Jun-Woo, concerned, inquires about her well-being. She may claim to have exceptional stamina, but her appearance suggests otherwise. He advises her to take it easy, turning his gaze back towards the gate just as Jun-tae points out the approaching hunters. Sung-hyuk, still perturbed, wastes no time venting his frustration to the first hunter emerging from the dungeon, emphasizing that it's been an hour and a half. Meanwhile, Jun-Woo can't help but feel uneasy as he spots Kim Min-ju among the hunters. With countless dungeons and hunters around, he can't fathom why their paths keep crossing. Kim Min-ju comes to a halt right in front of Jun-Woo, and for a moment, an intense silence hangs between them. They exchange piercing gazes in a silent standoff, before Min-ju finally breaks the silence and walks away, questioning Jun-Woo about why he always seems to cross her path. Jun-Woo's expression twists into one of vexation. As Min-ju strides away, flexing her shoulders, Jun-Woo contemplates whether he should inform her about the blade marks. But then he dismisses the thought, pondering why he should even care. Memories of the past resurface and recollections of his visit to her at the hospital flash through his mind. She had appeared surprised to see him and didn't stand up in greeting, a fact that inwardly irked him, given his status as her superior. He had inquired about her condition, and in response, she explained that her surgery had concluded not too long ago, leaving her unsure of her physical state. Irritated, Jun-Woo pressed further, questioning how someone who wielded a sword could overlook muscle inflammation until it deteriorated. He had admonished her for neglecting to develop her left-hand grip and blindly relying on her left arm's strength to swing her sword, ultimately resulting in the destruction of her shoulder. She had retorted by asking why he hadn't informed her sooner, and in return, Jun-Woo had queried her about her tone. He suspected that her regret fueled her words. He had then declared that, in her current condition, she couldn't continue as a hunter, producing a document and tossing it in her direction. Horror had gripped her as she gazed at the document, realizing that the association's stance was unanimous. Kim Min-ju's eyes remained fixed on the document, her form frozen like a statue. Jun-Woo's voice broke the stillness as he cautioned her that pushing herself too far would not only jeopardize her career as a hunter, but also make daily life an arduous challenge. Trembling with a mix of emotions, she confronted him, demanding to know why he was putting her through this ordeal, and asserting that her injury was insignificant. She also reminded him that he was well aware of the compelling reasons that drove her to be a hunter. Jun-Woo, now seated on a nearby bench, reiterated that given her current physical condition, she was nothing but a liability to the team. He stressed that she should have confided in him if she was in pain, emphasizing that there was no need to suffer in silence until the issue escalated. He added that he would have understood if she had communicated her discomfort. Min-ju, frustration bubbling over, retorted that she had, in fact, informed him multiple times. She recounted how she had told him about her intention to undergo a thorough examination with the support team, to which he responded by dismissing her concerns, asserting that everyone had their share of aches, and urging her to get back to work. Tears welled up in her eyes as she confronted him, demanding to know whose fault it was that she had endured all this time and now found herself in this condition. Yet, in the face of her anguish, Jun-Woo remained resolute in his stance, telling her to retire. Jun-Woo's voice rose in defiance as he challenged her, vehemently denying any responsibility for her predicament. He asserted that she should have taken better care of her own body from the start. Kim Min-ju's head drooped, and her voice grew softer as she insisted that she could still work. She expressed hope that with a few days of rehabilitation, she'd be back on her feet. Jun-Woo, however, asked her who would shoulder her responsibilities during those few days, and what good would her shoulder be for her tasks. He reminded her of her role as a swordsman and suggested that if she wanted to live like a parasite, she might as well join the cleaning team. In a frail voice, she asked him if he ever considered her a comrade. Jun-Woo appeared perplexed, and she bitterly apologized, acknowledging that her question was foolish. She had come to realize that someone like her was merely a tool, meant to be discarded once used up. In a menacing gesture, he leaned closer to her, asserting that he had never liked her from the beginning, and that she was now revealing her true colors. He accused her of blatantly disregarding her superior, noting that he had been quite lenient with her. Tears streamed down her face as she admitted her hatred for him, accusing him of dehumanizing those under his command and treating them as mere pawns. With no regard for her words, Jun-Woo called her a parasite out of rage. But before he could utter another word, she struck him square across the face. Her voice dripped with resentment as she admonished him to be reborn as a human in his next life and unleashed a torrent of curses. Now, as Jun-Woo uncomfortably reflects on the incident, he realizes that he did indeed make a grave mistake. She had told him she was in pain, but he can't recall it clearly. Perhaps he had casually dismissed her complaints, telling her to stop feigning illness and get back to work without giving it much thought. Regardless, he acknowledges that if it weren't for her injury, she might have achieved greatness. Jun-Woo can't help but be concerned as he watches her flex her shoulder as she walks away. Eventually, he musters the courage to call her back, his demeanor sheepish and reluctant. He instructs her to develop her left-hand grip strength. She turns to him, looking annoyed and confused at the same time. Jun-Woo elaborates on his advice, demonstrating what he means. He explains that her current stance, which focuses strength on her right hand, places excessive strain on her shoulder. Even if she can strike swiftly in this posture, her right shoulder will bear an unsustainable load. He emphasizes that utilizing her left hand can help distribute the burden, reducing the strain on her body. Above all, he points out that finding balance between both hands will grant her greater strength in the long run. She continues to scrutinize Jun-Woo with narrowed eyes, and he interprets her expression as belittling his advice, thinking that she sees him as just a mere cleaner. Consequently, he decides to cease his explanation and abruptly turns away, his face flushed with embarrassment. He expresses confidence in her intelligence as a hunter, assuming she will figure things out on her own, before stomping off toward the gate. Before leaving, he advises her to visit the support team for an examination. As she watches him walk away, she feels a mixture of confusion and uncertainty. Later, during her examination, the medical expert surprises her by revealing that her shoulder issue could have become a serious problem if left untreated. Taken aback and uneasy, she gazes at the X-ray of her inflamed right shoulder. While the condition isn't currently severe, neglecting it over time could have led to more serious complications. The examiner prescribes anti-inflammatory medication, but emphasizes that correcting her stance is crucial. He mentions that her overall balance isn't optimal and suggests increasing the grip strength of her left hand, a familiar recommendation that echoes the advice from the cleaner. Later that evening, exhaustion hangs heavy in the air, weighing down Jun-Woo and the rest of the team. Only Jun-Tae still manages to wear a cheerful expression, commending everyone for their hard work. Out of nowhere, Sung-hyuk questions Jun-Woo about his cruelty. Jun-Woo turns to him, his fatigue evident, and advises Sung-hyuk not to provoke him when he's so drained. Sung-hyuk points toward Kim Min-ju, standing nearby, and asks Jun-Woo how he could make his ex-girlfriend wait for so long. Jun-Woo turns to look at her, stunned to find her here. As the rest of the team continues to jest behind his back, Jun-Woo stands there, mouth agape and eyes wide, bewildered by Kim Min-ju's unexpected presence at this late hour. Once his teammates have moved away, leaving him to face the situation on his own, Jun-Woo turns to Kim Min-ju. He folds his arms over his chest, clearly impatient, and asks her what she wants, mentioning that he needs to catch the last bus before it departs. Without a word, Kim Min-ju strides towards him and then points her sword at him, her tone demanding answers. She inquires about his identity and how he came to know about her shoulder inflammation. Her sudden aggression surprises Jun-Woo. When he doesn't immediately respond, she presses him to answer her questions and accuses him of pretending to suddenly be ignorant of the matter. Jun-Woo realizes that she must have already undergone an examination. He explains that he was merely pretending to have knowledge about her shoulder issue, intending to share some general tips he had come across on the internet about hunters. Kim Min-ju remains skeptical, doubting that he acquired this information from the internet, as the sword-fighting technique she employs is highly confidential and strictly forbidden from being shared with outsiders. However, she can't help but notice that he is well informed about the unique stance and muscles associated with it, leaving her puzzled. Listening to her points, Jun-Woo begins to regret his unnecessary intrusion and the suspicion he's cast upon himself. It becomes increasingly evident to him that Kim Min-ju's sword-fighting technique is indeed unique and not something a dungeon cleaner would typically be familiar with. If this situation continues, it could lead to a report to the association, and he might find himself under suspicion as an outsider spy. Realizing the need to clarify his intentions, Jun-Woo decides to disclose information about the blade wounds on the monster's corpse. He explains that among the multitude of wounds, there was one distinguishing feature. The wounds that required right-hand strength to inflict were deep, but the follow-through techniques appeared shallow. It was at this point that he realized the wounds had been inflicted by a swordsman lacking strength in their left hand. He continues to elaborate that Vega, the boss monster in question, is known for its rapid attack speed, but isn't particularly formidable beyond that aspect. The common strategy when dealing with Vega is to take advantage of its speed and counterattack. However, he noticed no signs of this tactic being employed. It didn't make sense that someone as skilled as Kim Min-ju wouldn't be aware of this method. His conclusion was that her body couldn't match or respond to Vega's speed, leading him to this assessment. As Min-ju listens to Jun-Woo's explanation, she can't shake off the uneasy feeling creeping over her. She reluctantly admits that, for a fleeting moment, her shoulder did feel strained. Jun-Woo affirms her experience, noting that such a symptom might be minor in everyday life, but would be particularly noticeable in a high-pressure situation, especially for someone with the agility and precision of a swordsman. Internally, Jun-Woo reflects that his ability to offer advice, despite not being a swordsman himself, is rooted in his past as a hunter, when he held the unique title of the world's first all-class hunter. However, this fact remains unknown to everyone at present. Minju's eyes glisten with curiosity and intrigue as she places her hand on his shoulder. She asserts with confidence that he must be a freelance hunter, and Jun-Woo is surprised and perplexed by her claim. She passionately explains that rank freelance hunters are the top-ranked individuals in Korea, but tend to keep a low profile unless dealing with high-risk dungeons. Jun-Woo brushes her hand away, firmly denying her assumption and shocking her by revealing that he is just a cleaner. With that, he starts to walk away, explaining that he needs to wake up early the next day and must take his leave for the night. Jun-Woo inwardly ponders how transparent the question has been. If he were still a skilled hunter, Minju might have had ulterior motives or an agenda. However, now relegated to the role of a dungeon cleaner, he doubts there's any reason for them to cross paths again. To his surprise, however, he hears Minju utter a sincere thank you as he walks away. He can hardly believe that Kim Minju is expressing gratitude towards him and turns around to stare at her. The following day, Minju finds herself in the office of Captain of Operations Team 1, Lee Soo-young. He expresses surprise at her sudden request for a break and inquires if it's related to the results of her examination. When she confirms this, he expresses displeasure at the idea of her taking a break merely because her shoulder is bothering her. Such a reason hadn't even crossed his mind. Minju, however, reveals that she intends to use the break for self-improvement and even mentions an interest in learning sword skills. Soo-young is taken aback and questions if she's planning to enroll in an academy. She clarifies that she's only seeking private instruction. Intrigued, he asks if she met a martial arts master somewhere. She sighs and confesses that it's actually a cleaner from the dungeon cleaning team. Soo-young wears a scowl, clearly disapproving of Minju's decision, deeming it a disgrace and suggesting that she might as well finish her training at a kendo academy. Undeterred, she asserts that she will handle the matter on her own. Soo-young, his curiosity piqued, asks whether it was the cleaner who prompted her to get the examination, leaving her worried about who might have informed him. She recalls a nurse who had noticed her frequent visits to the examiner's office. Soo-young, still perplexed, asks what a mere cleaner could possibly teach a hunter. Minju explains that the cleaner hadn't agreed to teach her yet, even though she had asked him before and he had rejected her request. Hearing this, Soo-young's frustration reaches its boiling point, and he demands to know what exactly she intends to learn when the cleaner has already made it clear that he won't teach her. Minju responds by stating her determination to keep reaching out to him until he changes his mind. Exasperated, Soo-young ultimately gives in. He instructs her to return before the large-scale clearing scheduled for a few weeks from now. She expresses her gratitude, and Soo-young, feeling irritated, dismisses her brusquely. As she exits his office, he broods over the organization's seeming regression and questions again what a hunter could possibly learn from a cleaner. He worries about the potential repercussions if other teams learn of this situation, especially if it reaches the ears of the captain of Operation Team 2. The mere thought of the cleaning team sends shivers down his spine. He reaches for the intercom and calls the office of the executive management director, requesting that they transfer his call as there's something he feels compelled to discuss. A few days later, the cleaning team is once again hard at work within a dungeon, and Jun-Woo, in particular, is putting forth an unusually diligent effort. Sung Hyuk leans in towards So Yeon and comments that it seems like Jun-Woo has gone a bit mad. What they are unaware of is that just a few days ago, a new skill was unlocked for Jun-Woo. The system had taken note of his increased interest in the dungeon cleaning team within the association. Unexpectedly, Jun-tae approaches Jun-Woo from behind, wearing a friendly expression as he casually mentions that he doesn't want to pry into his personal affairs, but he's curious about why Kim Minju is now cleaning the dungeon floor. Jun-Woo calmly informs Jun-tae that he brought her here himself. Jun-Woo explains his rationale, stating that they can't predict when Hui-jang will return, so having an extra person with them seems like a sensible precaution. However, Jun-tae raises a concern, pointing out that Kim Min-ju is a hunter, and if the association were to discover her participating in cleaning duties, it might lead to unfavorable consequences. As Jun-tae continues to speak, Jun-Woo reflects inwardly on his decision. He hadn't brought her along because he wanted to. Kim Min-ju had persistently requested that he teach her sword fighting, which had irritated him. He couldn't fathom why a hunter would ask a cleaner for such guidance. In a moment of frustration, he had proposed that he would consider helping her if she assisted with cleaning. To his surprise, she had readily agreed, catching him off guard. He had underestimated her. He assumed she had a big ego and wouldn't be willing to perform such chores. Now, as he watches her diligently scrubbing the dirty floor, he wonders how things have escalated to this point. Meanwhile, So Yeon observes Jun-Woo watching Min-ju and perceives a completely different atmosphere between them. Jun-Woo begins to feel like he's losing his mind, never expecting Kim Min-ju to follow him so persistently. When she calls out to him, referring to him as a teacher while pointing out that the floor isn't getting clean, his frustration mounts. Despite his annoyance, he walks over to her and crouches down beside her, asking if she genuinely believes that she can clean the bloodstains with just physical strength. In response to her request for elaboration, Jun-Woo explains the distinction between human and monster blood, indicating that when the two types of blood are mixed like this, they shouldn't be cleaned simultaneously. He advises her to begin by wiping away the human blood using a cloth and then dissolve the remaining residue with fire. Min-ju nods in comprehension. Jun-Woo proceeds to pull a dagger from his suit and points out the bits of monster flesh stuck to the blood. He suggests that it would be wasteful to use a cleaning solution to remove them and instead recommends gently scraping them off with the dagger, instructing her to collect all the removed material in one place. After he finishes cleaning the floor as part of his demonstration, which now shines brightly, Jun-Woo adds that if she uses the dagger, she should clean it immediately to prevent it from getting corroded by monster blood. When Min-ju seems hesitant about the cleaning task, Jun-Woo's hopes briefly rise, and he eagerly inquires if she doesn't want to participate, reassuring her that it would be perfectly understandable. However, Min-ju once again surprises him by revealing that she finds cleaning to be quite profound. Jun-tae joins them at this moment, offering kind words of praise to Jun-Woo and referring to him as a full-fledged cleaner. Flustered and somewhat taken aback, Jun-Woo responds with a sheepish laugh. However, in the back of his mind, he can't shake the feeling that this entire situation is nonsensical. He can't fathom what's so great about standing here and laughing. He, a former SSS rank hunter, now finds himself proudly accepting the title of a full-fledged cleaner, a realization that leaves him feeling disheartened. Jun-tae turns to Min-ju and acknowledges her efforts, noting that she's doing well on her first try. Meanwhile, So Yeon watches the interaction from a distance, sensing a distinct shift in the atmosphere. Later, once Min-ju completes cleaning her designated area, she comes to inform Jun-Woo. However, So Yeon, who is standing right beside her, suggests that they move to another area together. Jun-tae expresses concern about the number of corpses in that area and questions if they will be alright. So Yeon reassures him and emphasizes her eagerness to work with the hunter. She then leads Min-ju away, promising to return soon. Sung Hyuk and Jun-Woo watch as they depart, and Sung Hyuk places a bet, predicting that Min-ju will emerge victorious. Jun-Woo agrees with his assessment. As So Yeon and Min-ju walk ahead, So Yeon starts to feel increasingly awkward. She had impulsively invited Min-ju to join her, but now she's uncertain about what to say or how to engage in conversation. She regrets stepping out of her comfort zone like this, as it's something she's never done before. Min-ju notices So Yeon's discomfort and remarks that she seems quite tired. So Yeon tries to dismiss the concern, claiming that she's perfectly fine. However, when Min-ju remains unconvinced, So Yeon admits that she hasn't been sleeping well for the past few days. When Min-ju inquires further, So Yeon deflects the conversation back to Min-ju, emphasizing that this is her first time having a conversation with a hunter and expressing curiosity about her background. Min-ju, though, doesn't have much to share, except for the fact that she followed in her father's footsteps to become a hunter. Intrigued, So Yeon asks if they work together. Minju then opens up and reveals that her father was actually fired from the association due to a shoulder injury. This happened after his superior told him not to feign illness and demanded he work properly. Moreover, the people who worked alongside him made his life difficult, forcing him to walk on eggshells. He endured all this out of fear of becoming a burden to everyone else, which ultimately exacerbated his injury. So Yeon is taken aback by the callous treatment her father received from his colleagues. Minju goes on to explain that in the association, there are no true colleagues, only individuals who either rank above or below you. Her father, a middle-aged B-rank hunter, was deemed disposable in their eyes, and nobody cared about his well-being. As they continue walking, Minju further elaborates on her views of the association, describing it as a place where hierarchy reigns supreme. She explains that within the association, there's a tendency to act extremely strongly towards the weak and extremely weakly towards the strong. This power dynamic extends to the hunters she has encountered. However, she notes that the cleaning team she has observed doesn't conform to this pattern. The two women come to a stop, and their conversation shifts to Jun-Woo. So Yeon praises Jun-Woo for being skilled at his job and having a strong sense of responsibility. She recounts how he didn't do much on his first day and was even late on the second day, leading her to believe he might quit soon. However, she's now impressed by his work ethic, noting that he works harder than anyone else. While So Yeon sings Jun-Woo's praises, Minju privately reflects that Jun-Woo is no ordinary cleaner. His ability to deduce information about the condition of the hunter who cleared the dungeon from just a few marks left on a corpse is remarkable. Additionally, if he possesses more knowledge about dungeons and monsters than the control team, it provides a strong reason to keep him around. So Yeon becomes curious and asks Minju why she follows Jun-Woo around every day. Minju reiterates her previous explanation, emphasizing that within the association, the power dynamics that she detests demand that she become strong. To achieve that goal, she believes she needs Jun-Woo's assistance. Upon their return, Jun-Woo and the other two notice that Minju and So Yeon surprisingly appear to have become close. Jun-Woo makes this observation, and then, with Jun-tae leading, they'd refocus their attention on the task at hand. Jun-tae informs them that they are dealing with a boss monster that's a deadly poison type. While he assures them that they should be fine as long as the poison doesn't come into direct contact with their skin, he advises them to exercise extra caution today and not to worry excessively. Jun-tae observes that So Yeon's response to his instructions is somewhat delayed, prompting him to ask if something is bothering her. So Yeon shares that her hazmat suit is making her feel uncomfortable, and the gas mask is making it a bit difficult to breathe. However, she believes it won't hinder her work. Sung Hyuk chimes in, reminding them that it's time to change their equipment and suggesting that Jun-tae should try to request a budget increase from the association. He expresses concern that if they continue working under these conditions, there could be an accident. Jun-tae acknowledges his concerns and mentions that he has attempted to request additional funding before, but doesn't know what to do if they claim they don't have the money. He then heads over to the door and encourages everyone to enter the boss room, emphasizing the importance of keeping their available hazmat suits on. He opens the door, and they all enter the room where the dead monster lies in a heap. Jun-tae once again cautions everyone to be extremely careful to avoid any contact with the deadly poison. The boss monster known as Maximum Slime may appear to be an ordinary slime, but exposure to its deadly poison and foul stench for an extended period can result in poisoning. The critical window of time for avoiding poisoning is just 5 minutes. Once poisoned in this dungeon, there is little hope of recovery. Jun-Woo understands the seriousness of the situation and knows they must exercise even greater caution than usual. As they begin their work, Jun-tae carries a bag of waste on his shoulder and inquires about the well-being of Jun-Woo and Sung Hyuk, both of whom affirm that they are all right. Jun-tae then turns to Minju, who also affirms her well-being. However, when he approaches So Yeon and asks if she's okay, she doesn't respond. Concerned, Jun-tae moves closer and gently nudges her shoulder, which unexpectedly causes her to collapse onto the floor, alarming everyone. Jun-tae cradles So Yeon in his arms, gently shaking her in a desperate attempt to rouse her. She's shivering uncontrollably, her face is pallid, and tears stream down her closed eyes. Sung Hyuk notices that her air purifier didn't function properly, and her hazmat suit has a tear on the side. His voice quivering with concern, Jun-tae suggests they move her outside immediately and contact the support team for assistance. Jun-Woo silently berates himself for not cautioning So Yeon to be more careful. Sung Hyuk calls out to him, asking for his help in lifting So Yeon. However, Jun-Woo hesitates, realizing that it's highly unlikely the support team will arrive within the 5-minute golden time to administer the antidote. One experiences excruciating pain all over their body after ingesting maximum slime's toxin, at which point they pass out. Sung Hyuk urgently calls Jun-Woo over again, but he doesn't respond. Instead of helping lift So Yeon, Jun-Woo instructs Kim Min-ju to draw her sword. Min-ju's eyes widen as she comprehends Jun-Woo's intention. Jun-tae and Sung Hyuk demand to know what Jun-Woo is doing and warn him that if anything happens to So Yeon due to his delay, they won't let him off the hook. Jun-Woo gazes at Min-ju with determination in his eyes, instructing her to draw her sword, as they have no time to waste. Jun-Woo calmly instructs Min-ju that it's not a difficult task. She just has to make one cut. Despite her initial panic and protests, Min-ju is taken aback when Jun-Woo reveals that she doesn't have to cut So Yeon. She has to cut him instead. While Jun-tae continues to plead with Jun-Woo for assistance behind him, Jun-Woo remains resolute and tells Min-ju to act quickly and quietly. After some initial hesitation, Min-ju gathers her resolve and agrees to follow his instructions. Although she doesn't fully understand his plan, she summons her sword and activates her acquired skill, prompting Jun-Woo to urgently tell her to wait, as he didn't instruct her to use her skill. Despite his warning, Min-ju swiftly delivers a strike, and Jun-Woo receives the shock of the attack. The system registers an attack directed at the caster, and Jun-Woo instinctively assumes a fighting stance. With his hand on the bleeding wound, Jun-Woo grimaces in pain. He briefly glances over his shoulder at Jun-tae and informs him that he will carry So Yeon to the support team and meet the others there. Jun-tae is perplexed, asking how Jun-Woo intends to do that in his current condition. He points out that reaching the support team from their location would take at least 30 minutes, even by taxi. However, before Jun-tae can make sense of the situation, Jun-Woo has already shouldered So Yeon and taken off, wasting no time. With So Yeon on his back, Jun-Woo activates his skill called Hyper Boost, fully aware that time is running out with only 3 minutes left in golden time. In the medical center later that night, Jun-tae, his eyes brimming with tears, expresses his gratitude to the doctor. The doctor reassures him that, despite So Yeon being in critical condition, bringing her within the golden time saved her life. He advises them to check on her progress and then proceed inside. Jun-tae sincerely thanks the doctor for the life-saving care. The doctor notices Jun-Woo, who steps forward and introduces himself. However, the doctor's response is rather casual, reminding Jun-Woo to stop by the hospital reception to pay for his stitches. This irritates Jun-Woo, but he holds back any further comment. When they visit So Yeon in her room, she greets them with a sheepish smile while they wear solemn expressions. Jun-tae sternly reproaches her, emphasizing that if something was wrong, she should have communicated it clearly. She nervously apologizes, and Sung Hyuk curses under his breath, questioning the age and condition of the equipment, particularly the hazmat suit tear and the broken air purifier. Jun-tae scolds Sung Hyuk for his cursing, but Sung Hyuk remains disgruntled, venting his frustration about the cleaner's gear not being changed for more than half a year when a single word from a hunter leads to the replacement of all their equipment. When Jun-tae gestures at Min-ju, who's standing right beside them, he quickly corrects himself, clarifying that he's not blaming the hunters, to which Min-ju reassures him that it's okay. Jun-tae turns his attention to So Yeon and suggests that she should take this opportunity to rest and recover. He assures her that he will look into the industrial accident and handle the situation. Surprising both Jun-tae and So Yeon, Jun-Woo suddenly walks away. So Yeon asks him where he's going, and he replies that he needs to get some fresh air. As Jun-Woo walks out of the hospital room and down the hallway, he reflects on the situation. So Yeon had suffered an accident on the job due to old equipment, and Jun-Woo realizes that this turn of events has worked out better than he initially thought. It's the perfect timing to suggest a budget expansion, which happens to be the unlock condition for the Hellfire skill. By using this accident to provoke the association, they will have no option but to provide support for the sake of their image. If he unlocks this skill as well, he will already have 2 skills under his belt, and it won't be long before he can lead the cleaning team. Meanwhile, in the hospital room, So Yeon expresses her concern about Jun-Woo, noting that he didn't look well and wondering if something was wrong. Jun-Ta, however, assures her that Jun-Woo is probably feeling angry. So Yeon thinks it's because she caused too much trouble, but Jun-Tae corrects her, explaining that Jun-Woo is the kind of person who cares deeply about his colleagues, and there's more to it than meets the eye. Min-ju privately agrees with Jun-Tae's assessment, recognizing how Jun-Woo takes care of his colleagues, even to the point of sacrificing his own well-being. She acknowledges that there is much to learn from him. Sung Hyuk also shares his observation that the more they see of Jun-Woo, the more peculiar he appears. So Yeon asks what has led him to say that, and Sung Hyuk reveals that Jun-Woo saved her using a skill. This revelation astounds So Yeon, and Sung Hyuk adds that although he hasn't been working with the cleaning team for very long, the fact that a cleaner can use skills is quite remarkable. So Yeon expresses concern that she didn't know Jun-Woo saved her and didn't even have the chance to thank him. Jun-Tae turns to Kim Min-ju, curious about her perspective on Jun-Woo. She takes a moment to think and then notes that he seems like a good person. Jun-Tae clarifies that he was actually asking from a hunter's point of view, making Min-ju appear somewhat embarrassed. Jun-Tae shares his belief that it's a waste for Jun-Woo to be just a cleaner. He recognizes that Jun-Woo possesses extensive knowledge of dungeon raid tactics and monster information, surpassing most hunters in that regard. Min-ju asks if he's suggesting that Jun-Woo should switch departments and join the operations team. Jun-Tae acknowledges that transitioning departments would indeed be challenging, but he believes it could benefit Jun-Woo. Min-ju agrees, emphasizing that Jun-Woo's experience and skills surpass those of most hunters. However, the issue lies in the fact that he is currently a member of the cleaning team. This statement offends Sung Hyuk, and Jun-Tae tries to calm him down, explaining that Min-ju isn't suggesting that the cleaning team is incapable of advancement. Min-ju calmly clarifies her point, stating that it's actually the opposite. She points out that even as a B-rank hunter, she can't accurately gauge Jun-Woo's true skill level. After all, he would have the best understanding of his own abilities. However, he deliberately chose to be a part of the cleaning team. Jun-Tae inquires if she means to say that Jun-Woo genuinely wanted to do this type of work. Min-ju agrees, explaining that she can't think of any other reason. Sung Hyuk is still puzzled as to why someone with exceptional skills would choose to do such menial labor. Min-ju offers her hypothesis, suggesting that Jun-Woo possesses incredible abilities but prefers not to become entangled in the hierarchy of the association or the world of hunters. Instead, he may have found a sense of camaraderie and purpose within the cleaning team. Min-ju's words have a profound impact on all 3 of them, and Jun-Tae recognizes that if Jun-Woo's true intentions align with her hypothesis, then they should respect his choice. He decides not to bring up the idea of Jun-Woo switching departments again. Sung Hyuk, on the other hand, finds it hard to believe that Jun-Woo holds them in such high regard. However, a thought suddenly occurs to him. He suggests that if Jun-Woo truly values his comrades, then he might have gone to the association to address the accident at this moment. Sung Hyuk's remark initially shocks Min-ju, but she quickly realizes that it is not an unreasonable assumption. Meanwhile, Jun-Woo stands confidently before the director of the Republic of Korea's Supernatural and Dimension Management Association in Seoul, Seo Min-cheol. With his head held high, he proudly introduces himself as a cleaner. Jun-Woo stands his ground, determined to make his case to Director Seo Min-cheol. He has asked for an increase in the budget for the cleaning team, and he's not backing down. Director Seo Min-cheol is a powerful figure within the SEAL branch of the Republic of Korea's Supernatural and Dimension Management Association, and his followers have a strong influence on the organization. He takes a moment to consider Jun-Woo's request. Seo Min-cheol suggests that Jun-Woo should have taken this matter to the management department, as it's not typical for a cleaner to come directly to the director, especially not a regular worker like Jun-Woo. However, Jun-Woo confidently explains that the standard approach of targeting the boss and ignoring the minions isn't always the most efficient method. Unfazed by the director's condescending tone, Jun-Woo maintains his composure. Seo Min-cheol appears to underestimate Jun-Woo's determination and audacity, thinking that he might be too young to understand how things work. The director questions where the cleaning team plans to spend the additional budget, as he believes their current expenses aren't substantial. However, Jun-Woo boldly asserts that he's requesting the increase precisely because the existing budget falls short, despite what the director may think of their expenses. Seo Min-cheol initially reacts with anger, but quickly regains his composure, finding Jun-Woo's audacity rather amusing. However, Jun-Woo is determined to get his point across. He informs the director about the recent accident that occurred due to their old equipment and the lack of funds to replace it. Despite the compromised equipment, they continued their work, resulting in a team member being exposed to the monster's poison. Jun-Woo emphasizes that the incident has just occurred, which is why the director hasn't received a report about it yet. Seo Min-cheol listens intently, his gaze fixed on Jun-Woo. He responds by stating that the situation is unfortunate, but claims that the association's headquarters is also facing financial constraints. Jun-Woo, however, is skeptical of the director's claims as he takes in the opulent office and the expensive-looking ring on the director's finger. He finds it hard to believe that the association is truly facing a financial crisis, especially considering the massive budget allocated to the Supernatural Subjugation Department, which would have included significant funds for the operations team. The association's substantial financial resources, in Jun-Woo's view, don't align with the director's assertion of budget constraints. Jun-Woo's boldness and insight leave Seo Min-cheol shocked. Jun-Woo leans forward on the table, emphasizing that the director won't be able to exhaust the entire budget within the year anyway. He points out that by year's end, the funds would likely be used for commemorative clearings or coalition raids. Jun-Woo's request is simple. He asks the director to allocate a portion of those funds where it's genuinely needed. Seo Min-cheol, taken aback by Jun-Woo's audacity, demands to know what he's playing at. Jun-Woo, in his calm and composed manner, reminds the director of his position as the head of the association's headquarters. He advises Seo Min-cheol to consider his own standing, especially since he has only been in his position for 2 months. Jun-Woo suggests that maintaining a stable position within the organization is crucial, considering the cleaning team is already rumored to be treated poorly. He implies that it wouldn't bode well for the association if citizens were to discover that accidents occurred due to an insufficient budget for essential equipment. Seo Min-cheol, growing increasingly agitated, questions if Jun-Woo is attempting to threaten him. Jun-Woo nonchalantly shrugs, clarifying that he is merely stating the truth. Despite his irritation, the director nods, acknowledging Jun-Woo's perspective. He asks Jun-Woo how much he wants the budget increased by. Jun-Woo, unfazed, replies that the director can raise it as much as he deems necessary. Jun-Woo does not specify a particular amount since the condition for skill unlock only mentions budget expansion. Whether it's 10 won or 100 won, as long as there's an increase, it suits him just fine. With this thought, he begins to turn, assuming the conversation has concluded. However, before he can take his leave, the director calls him out and causes him to stop. He glances back, and to his surprise, the director asks him whether he knows the hunter, Kim Min-ju. Puzzled, Jun-Woo inquires about the reason behind this query, causing Seo Min-cheol to deduce that he is indeed acquainted with Kim Min-ju. His interest is piqued, and he assures Jun-Woo that he will thoroughly assess the budget expansion and get in touch with him soon. As he exits the room, Jun-Woo is left in a state of confusion, wondering why Kim Min-ju's name was brought into the conversation. Once Jun-Woo has left, the director reaches for the intercom, initiating communication with someone on the other end, identified as Soo-young. He proceeds to inform Soo-young about the recent visitor, the same individual Kim Min-ju had mentioned earlier as her swordsmanship instructor, the cleaner who had just been there. Soo-young's response is laced with disbelief as he questions how a mere cleaner could have the audacity to meet with the director. However, Seo Min-cheol realizes that Jun-Woo isn't just any cleaner. While he can't be certain, Jun-Woo seems to possess inside knowledge, suggesting some affiliation with the association. Seo Min-cheol proceeds to share that Jun-Woo's proposal revolved around expanding the cleaning team's budget, but he suspects there's more to Jun-Woo's motives than meets the eye. Soo-young counters by pointing out that Jun-Woo is still a part of the cleaning team. He hints at plans to teach him and the team a lesson, his expression turning malevolent, and his eyes reflecting a sinister determination. He declares his intention to make them bow to their superiors. The following day, outside the dungeon gate, Jun-tat anxiously gazes at a paper in his hand, which happens to be a notice of disciplinary action. Sung Hyuk expresses his frustration, cursing out loudly and seeking Min-ju's opinion on the matter. But the contents of the notice have surprised her as well. The notice states that Mun So-yeon's disciplinary action is due to a violation of the prohibition against multiple employment. The incident has been attributed to the accumulation of fatigue resulting from her juggling multiple jobs. Jun-tae further points out that all claims related to the industrial accident and compensation have been summarily dismissed. The notice attributes the accident to personal negligence and cites a lack of evidence to support claims that the equipment was old. Jun-Woo can't help but curse in frustration, but So-yeon offers him reassurance, urging him not to worry too much since she genuinely feels fine. She regards the disciplinary action as more of a warning, and she confesses that she hadn't held high expectations to begin with. Jun-Woo remains silent, his primary concern centered on his skill unlocking, overshadowing everything else. Sung Hyuk takes this moment to express that he now sees Jun-Woo in a new light, with Jun-tat and Min-ju chiming in as well. They commend him for taking the initiative to meet with the director on their behalf, even though his demands weren't met. They acknowledge that his intentions were clear, although the outcome wasn't as expected. Jun-Woo can't help but feel vexed and lets out an inward groan, perplexed by how they've misinterpreted his actions. Taking the lead as they head toward the gate, Jun-tae suggests they appreciate Jun-Woo's goodwill and continue to work hard. He also reminds So-yeon not to overexert herself. No matter how Jun-Woo contemplates the situation, it remains strange to him. He hadn't demanded a substantial sum of money or pursued compensation aggressively. The idea of superiors taking such extreme measures over someone holding multiple jobs leaves him wondering if there might be some hidden reason behind their actions. At that moment, a realization dawns upon Min-ju, causing her to consider that this predicament may be because of her. Jun-Woo turns towards her, his expression inquiring. She recounts a recent conversation she had with the captain during her break, where she discussed the cleaning team. The captain, who seemed to belong to an older generation, appeared to view the team in a negative light. She speculates that his attitude might be the reason behind the disciplinary actions against them. Concerned, Jun-Woo urgently requests the name of her team's captain. Min-ju identifies him as Soo-young, the captain of Control Team 1, and inquires if Jun-Woo knows him. Lee Soo-young is known as a representative figure within the Seo Min-cheol line. Despite a lack of personal talent, he attained the position of Control Team 1's captain through connections and has since exhibited an abuse of power. Jun-Woo quickly comprehends the situation and realizes why this is happening. He calls out to Jun-ta and reveals his intention to take leave today. Meanwhile, in Seoul, near Seotro-gu Samseong Station, a couple strolls together, discussing their dinner plans. Suddenly, a deafening explosion shatters the calm, and a dungeon gate materializes, throwing the surrounding crowd into a state of chaos and panic. Frantic voices implore each other to report the incident to the association. Amidst the chaos, Jun-Woo stands unfazed, wearing a smile as he gazes upon the unfolding scene. It's been a while, he muses, contemplating whether it's time to display a hint of his skills. A menacing growl emanates from the approaching monsters as they close in on Jun-Woo. With a swift motion, he activates his skill, feeling power surge through his weapon and course through his eyes. A system window materializes, indicating a drastic increase in the caster's movement speed during battle. Without hesitation, he utilizes the hyper boost, maneuvering through the encircling monsters in a zigzag pattern, delivering lethal blows as he passes. In a matter of moments, all the monsters lay lifeless, and Jun-Woo stands victorious. Dungeon Intercept, the act of clandestinely clearing a dungeon without the association's permission before a designated hunter is dispatched, is often viewed as a breach of etiquette, typically undertaken by freelance hunters seeking financial gain. Success requires swift execution and minimal information, resulting in a high mortality rate. Nevertheless, such concerns don't deter Jun-Woo. With approximately 15 minutes remaining until the operations team arrives, Jun-Woo sets a personal goal to finish the task in just 10 minutes. Though this dungeon would have taken less than 10 minutes in his prime as the world's #1, he now faces a stark reality. Without any defense skills, a single hit could prove fatal. This realization washes over him as he confronts the boss monster, a formidable golem. Nonetheless, Jun-Woo's ability to clear the dungeon quickly is primarily due to his prior familiarity with it. He finds himself facing the fourth boss, the imposing golem, which extends a massive arm toward him. Jun-Woo skillfully evades the attack and swiftly maneuvers away. Employing his hyper boost ability, he utilizes a clever tactic, hurling his spade at the golem. The spade strikes true, hitting the golem square in the center of its outstretched palm. He receives prompt notification from a system window that attacking weak points causes damage to increase by a startling 3,000%. Subsequently, Jun-Woo's single counter-strike triggers a tremendous, far-reaching impact, and in the next instant, an explosion ensues. Perched atop the lifeless golem's body, Jun-Woo begins mentally counting the dungeons he has cleared, including the Metallic Boar Dungeon, the Junior Succubus Dungeon, the Soul Devil Dungeon, and the Dimension Ant Dungeon. His track record is impressive, especially considering that on average, a hunter from the operations team clears only 3 to 4 dungeons per week. However, the profitability of lower-level dungeons is relatively modest. Near the dungeon entrance, a cluster of association vehicles is parked, indicating an emergency at the association's headquarters. This reaction is understandable, given that 4 dungeons were lost to an unknown party. The consequences of getting caught range from termination to financial compensation, with luck potentially sparing the latter. Jun-Woo is certain they wouldn't even entertain the notion that a mere cleaner could be responsible for this. As the time for the arrival of the hunters draws near, he contemplates whether he should conclude his actions for the day. He dons a cap, eager to witness the stunned expressions of the hunters. However, after 2 days of absence, fate takes a twist, and he finds himself wearing that same stunned expression he longed to see on the hunters. Soo-young wears a pensive expression, while Jun-tae nervously chuckles, openly wondering why the operations captain is present. Soo-young joins in the laughter, and as he stands on the sidelines, Jun-Woo worries that Soo-young might have caught on to something. Soo-young pleasantly remarks that sometimes one must build camaraderie with other teams. Jun-Woo privately dismisses it as nonsense, especially since Soo-young typically doesn't pay attention to the cleaning team. With a sly smile, Soo-young urges them not to pay him any mind and to continue with their work as usual. Jun-Woo is stressed, sensing something suspicious in the fact that the operations team's captain is visiting now of all times. He must suspect Jun-Woo as the culprit of the intercept. Standing between them, Jun-tae attempts to diffuse the tension by suggesting they proceed with their tasks. He offers to fetch Soo-young a gas mask and a hazmat suit, but Soo-young cuts him off, stating that there's no need for the suit as he'll only be observing from a distance. Further into the dungeon, Jun-tae assesses the situation and realizes that it will require a substantial amount of time to complete their task. He turns to Sung-hyuk and inquires about the remaining time. Sung-hyuk responds that they should be fine if they manage to finish within an hour. Jun-Woo chimes in, providing an update on the concentration level, noting it's set at 69%. The flesh has become significantly hardened, requiring more effort to deal with. Jun-tae, concerned about safety, asks So-yeon about the gas level, and she informs him that it's at 150 micrograms per square meter, with decomposition progressing rapidly. Jun-Woo requests Sung Hyuk's assistance with dismantling, but Sung Hyuk declines, citing the need to clean up the passage due to the presence of a considerable amount of blood. Observing them silently from a corner, Soo-young believes they are acting busy because their supervisor is present. He contemplates throwing them off by introducing some bait. Just then, he spots Min-ju passing by and decides to stop her. Jun-Woo, from his work location, overhears Soo-young questioning Min-ju about the recent intercepts that occurred in the last 2 days. Kim Min-ju is under the mistaken impression that the current Jun-Woo is a hunter, and if she finds out that an intercept took place while he was on a break, it could raise suspicions among all the team members. Jun-Woo becomes increasingly worried about the potential consequences of this revelation. Min-ju remarks to Soo-young that the consequences faced by hunters involved in an intercept must be severe. Soo-young acknowledges her comment, stating that they are indeed keeping a close watch on the individual responsible, but it's proving to be a challenging task. Casting a sly glance in Jun-Woo's direction, Soo-young proceeds to mention that the one who apprehends the interceptor will be generously rewarded. Hunters who successfully capture the culprit will receive extra points in their rank evaluations, and if another team manages to catch them, personnel transfers will be arranged. In other words, if the cleaning team manages to apprehend the person behind the intercept, they'll have the opportunity to move to a different team. Soo-young encourages anyone else who might be interested to approach him. He then drops a suggestive hint, insinuating that someone among them might have been absent for 2 days or something similar. With his face still turned away, Jun-Woo realizes that this spells trouble for him. Soo-young's offer of transferring to another team is undoubtedly enticing, and it's likely that the race to catch the interceptor will become a first-come, first-served affair. Jun-Woo had momentarily forgotten that Soo-young is a shrewd individual, not one to be underestimated. Jun-tae approaches Jun-Woo with concern, inquiring about his well-being due to the injury he sustained the previous day. Jun-Woo's eyes widen in alarm at first, but then Jun-tae reminds him that he had warned him to be cautious while dismantling the monster. So Yeon agrees, emphasizing that it's fortunate Jun-Woo got hurt yesterday rather than in front of a higher-up today. Sung Hyuk chimes in, suggesting that he had predicted such an outcome when Jun-Woo started singing while dismantling. Jun-tae playfully asks Jun-Woo if he let his guard down just because they complimented him a bit. Jun-tae then turns to Soo-young with a sheepish smile, implying that Soo-young had an excellent proposal in mind, but there is no one suspicious among them. Sung Hyuk, standing behind him, adds mockingly that if the culprit were indeed from their own team, they would have already opted to switch to another team. Jun-tae, feeling a bit offended, comments on Sung Hyuk's apparent lack of loyalty. As the two of them engage in their banter, Soo-young looks on in bewilderment, while Jun-Woo remains utterly stunned by the turn of events. Later, in his office and with a sense of urgency, Soo-young confidently informs the director that he's convinced the cleaner was responsible for the intercept. He reports that there haven't been any further intercepts since the cleaner's return to work. However, the director's response over the phone leaves Soo-young completely shocked. The director instructs him to increase the budget of the cleaning team. Soo-young, taken aback and still in disbelief, vehemently objects, insisting that there must be clear circumstances that warrant disciplinary action against Jun-Woo. Seo Min-cheol, however, remains composed and offers a different perspective. He calmly tells Soo-young that they may have unknowingly crossed paths with the wrong individual, referring to Jun-Woo as an unusual case. As the director proceeds to reveal Jun-Woo's true identity and situation, Soo-young finds himself utterly incredulous. Jun-Woo arrives at the bank to conduct a transaction, his clothes stained with blood from his recent dungeon intercept. A child nearby tries to divert their mother's attention to him, but the mother perceives Jun-Woo as potentially dangerous. The reason Jun-Woo opted for a dungeon intercept is clear-cut. If he can't receive the budget, he'll take matters into his own hands and create it himself. Upon Soo-young's shock at the director's decision to increase the cleaning team's budget, Min-cheol reveals that the support team fund has been anonymously deposited in the name of the cleaning team, amounting to 20 million won. Although not an enormous sum, Seo Min-cheol is aware that the intercepted funds this time were around the same amount. Frustrated, Soo-young argues that this revelation only reinforces his theory that it's all the cleaners doing. The director counters that this, in fact, exacerbates the issue, as it further incriminates the culprit. Confused, Soo-young looks for clarification. Seo Min-cheol explains that if someone with Soo-young's abilities had the capability to intercept, they wouldn't remain on the cleaning team. He goes on to assert that even if it were himself, he would never stay in such a position. When you possess the strength to climb the ranks, no one will willingly choose to perform the dirty work. Seo Min-cheol couldn't help but find something amiss right from the beginning. The fact that Jun-Woo approached him directly to discuss budget increases, coupled with his thorough awareness of the association's internal affairs, raised 100% certainty in Min-cheol's mind. There is someone currently on the cleaning team who shouldn't be there. It is undeniable that Jun-Woo is an insider of the association, but he appears to belong to the line of a prominent figure within the organization, perhaps even the president. Soo-young, taken aback and horrified by this assumption, can't fathom the implications. The director further adds that the president of the association doesn't hold him in a favorable light. This revelation leaves Soo-young seething with frustration. It now makes sense why his fellow cleaning team members were so protective of Jun-Woo. They likely knew about his connection to the president. He curses himself for not realizing it sooner. Min-cheol suggests that the deposit made in the name of the cleaning team seems like a warning, indicating that they are under surveillance and should carry out their work diligently. He can't tell for sure what might happen to Soo-young if things go south. Min-cheol acknowledges that they have made a grave mistake. Meanwhile, Jun-Woo stands with his team, contemplating the resolution of the intercept case. What remains unclear is when the deposited support fund will reflect in the budget. As they survey the rows of packages together, Jun-Woo is puzzled. Sung Hyuk turns to Jun-tae, questioning if he had ordered something at the location. Jun-tae firmly denies any knowledge of the delivered packages, but as So-yeon opens the boxes, they discover hazmat suits, gas masks, gloves, chemicals, and more. Jun-tae speculates that this support must have come from the headquarters, but Sung Hyuk remains skeptical. Inwardly, Jun-Woo realizes that it appears the support fund has indeed been put to use. Jun-tae comes across an official letter among the items, and Jun-Woo presumes it will likely state that it was sent by an anonymous supporter. However, his assumptions are shattered when he snatches the letter and discovers that the goods are valued at 200 million won, 10 times the amount he had originally deposited. Sung Hyuk proceeds to read the letter aloud for everyone. It explains that after a thorough association review, it has been determined that the lack of budget contributed significantly to the equipment deterioration, resulting in the accident. As a result, the headquarters has approved an additional budget increase, albeit a slight one. So Yeon and Jun-tae are left horrified by the idea that this is considered a slight increase. Sung Hyuk continues reading the letter, which expresses the association's deepest regrets and extends apologies to Ms. Mun So-yeon, along with a small payment as consolation, 100 million won for industrial accident compensatory damages. Tears well up in So-yeon's eyes, and she believes Jun-Woo is behind this gesture. With a hint of annoyance, Jun-Woo immediately denies any involvement. Sung Hyuk also questions him about his role in this change, and Jun-tae remarks that he has never witnessed the association altering its stance during his entire tenure. Jun-Woo, feeling uneasy, vehemently denies any responsibility, asserting that there's no way the headquarters would change its position. When Jun-tae stresses that it has indeed happened, and there's no need to know who is responsible for it, Jun-Woo can only feel helplessly exasperated, and the rest of the team agrees. Jun-tae suggests moving all the boxes to the office, prompting Jun-Woo to question if they even have an office. Jun-tae sheepishly admits they do have one, but the problem is that it's essentially useless. Min-ju inquires about the location of the office, and when Jun-tae appears puzzled, she pleasantly offers to assist Jun-Woo in moving the boxes while the rest of the team can leave for the day. Jun-Woo is perplexed, and Jun-tae insists that they will move the boxes together. Minju reiterates her determination to leave it to the two of them. Later in the day, as Jun-Woo is in the process of moving the boxes, a system window suddenly opens, notifying him that the skill Hellfire has been unlocked since the condition for budget expansion has been met. Jun-Woo feels a sense of triumph and believes there isn't much time left until he bids farewell to the cleaning team. Minju follows closely behind, carrying a box, and inquires whether Jun-Woo was the one who intercepted the dungeon 2 days ago. Jun-Woo, cautious, responds with a counter-question, asking her what she intends to do if he admits to it. Reassuringly, Minju tells him not to worry, assuring him that she won't backstab him for extra points. She then delves further, asking if the monetary compensation and the cleaning team's support funds were earned through the intercept. Jun-Woo is surprised by her knowledge, and she reveals that she is quite certain the other cleaning team members are aware of it as well. They're just being cautious with their words, not wanting to put him in a difficult position. Jun-Woo is taken aback, and Minju refers to the adage that suggests the talents of a gifted individual are always visible to others. She asserts that Jun-Woo's abilities are at a level where they cannot be concealed, even if he wishes to do so. He may have managed to evade detection this time, but in the future, he will gradually begin to stand out within the association. When that happens, she believes it will be challenging for him to remain on the cleaning team. However, Jun-Woo is positively delighted by the prospect, and his eyes shine with anticipation. He ponders if the director might be in talks with higher-ups, planning to transfer him to the operations team. He can't believe that the day has come when Minju is extending her assistance to all people. He considers this a reward for having her join the cleaning team. However, Minju abruptly drops the box and passionately hopes, with shining eyes, that he truly wants to remain on the cleaning team. She fervently declares her dedication to helping him secure a place on the team indefinitely. Currently, as a B-rank hunter, she may not be of great assistance, but once she becomes an A-rank hunter, she can offer him support. Jun-Woo becomes immensely agitated and frustrated, his cheek muscles twitching. The intercept case concludes on this note, but shortly after, another incident unfolds. Sung Hyuk and Jun-Woo, both wearing expressions of concern, gaze upon a graffitied wall covered in vulgar and offensive messages directed at Jun-Woo. When they entered the dungeon for cleaning, they discovered utter chaos, with profanities written in monster blood all over the walls and monster corpses deliberately strewn about. Sung Hyuk seethes with anger and is eager to take action, but Jun-Woo advises caution. He explains that going after the culprits won't be effective, as they can easily feign innocence. Sung Hyuk can't believe Jun-Woo wants to let the matter go and asks if he isn't angry. Jun-Woo's perspective is that not reacting to the provocations will eventually discourage the culprits from continuing their actions. Based on circumstantial evidence, it appears that the hunters from the operations team are responsible for the graffiti. Jun-Woo would love to confront them immediately, but he needs to avoid any confrontations with the operations team to unlock his skills. He believes that the childish prank will likely stop in a few days. However, to Jun-Woo's surprise, the incidents persist even after 3 days have passed. While mopping the floor, So-Yeon becomes emotional and questions why they are being targeted in this manner. Sung Hyuk resolves to confront the operations team, but Jun-Tae informs him that he has already visited them multiple times. Unfortunately, the operations team's captain is currently away on a business trip, and as Jun-Woo predicted, they deny any involvement in the graffiti. Sung Hyuk scowls and suggests at least informing Hunter Minju, but Jun-Woo halts him with an unwavering and thunderous expression. He instructs them not to contact anyone because he intends to handle the matter himself. As he turns to leave, he emphasizes that they should leave the cleaning of the defaced area as it is. Seething with anger, Jun-Woo curses the hunters for their low behavior. What's particularly significant to him is that he has acquired a passive skill called OCD. Driven by his fury, he activates the skill, considering the hunter's actions beyond infuriating. In a state of rage, Jun-Woo approaches the Seal Branch headquarters, frustrated with the hunter who has been forcing him to work for 15 hours a day despite his exhaustion. He strides into the building, where the hunters are gathered around the reception area. Without hesitation, he pushes people out of his way and storms in, his face a mask of unbridled anger. Hunters behind him cry out in protest at being pushed, but Jun-Woo is determined to see this through to the very end today. Standing in the lobby, Jun-Woo recalls the incident from 3 days ago, which is the source of his current anger. At the dungeon gate, a few hunters had condescendingly insulted the cleaning team and had pushed past Sung-hyuk, commenting rudely about the cleaning team's hygiene. The hunters expressed their resentment towards the team for interfering with another team's budget, suggesting that they should stick to their cleaning duties and avoid making a fuss. One of them even implied that they would prefer working a part-time job instead. Sung-hyuk, filled with anger, called out to the hunters and cursed at them. However, the situation changed when Min-ju arrived and asked the hunters which team they were from. The two hunters, taken aback, demanded to know how she could speak so informally and told her to leave while they were still being polite. Min-ju's eyes flashed with anger as she repeated her question and asked again about their team affiliation. Annoyed, one of the hunters retorted, and the other, recognizing Min-ju, pointed out that she was their team's senior. Realizing their mistake, the two hunters immediately bowed and apologized profusely, explaining that they hadn't realized she held a senior position within their team. Min-ju, not letting the two hunters off the hook easily, questioned why they were apologizing. She confessed that she didn't know they were on her team either. Her eyes took on a menacing glint as she asserted that before they apologized for not recognizing her, they should apologize for being lesser humans. Turning away from them, Min-ju approached So-yeon and Sung-hyuk and inquired if they were okay. She explained that there were always newcomers like those two who started thinking highly of themselves just because they had become hunters, despite being mere E-ranks. Min-ju proceeded to apologize on their behalf, but So-yeon and Sung-hyuk reassured her that they were fine. Meanwhile, the two hunters glanced over their shoulders with expressions of fury. Junta and Jun-Woo then arrived, with Juntae ready to start their work. Min-ju informed him that she had only come to offer her greetings that day. She bowed respectfully and expressed her gratitude for all she had learned during her time with them. A bewildered Juntae downplayed it, but he sincerely thanked her for her help. Jun-Woo quietly observed that it had only been a week since Kim Min-ju had started working with them. She must have been a quick learner, and she had fully understood the workload of one person. However, he knew that this had only been true up to that day. Expressing her gratitude, Min-ju mentioned that she should have been the one thanking them for meeting such nice people. Catching Min-ju off guard, So-yeon shared her sadness about Min-ju leaving. She kindly asked Min-ju to make an effort to visit sometime and stay in touch. Standing on the sidelines, Jun-Woo reflected that everyone seemed sad about Min-ju leaving, except for him. This was because he was the one who had told her to leave. He had conveyed this message to her when they were moving the boxes. Initially shocked, Kim Min-ju quickly understood the implications of his request. Asking her not to come anymore meant that he had decided to grant her request. Drawing from his knowledge and experience, Jun-Woo devised a clearing schedule for Min-ju. If she followed it, she could achieve an A rank within half a year. His current self couldn't build a career like his past life, so he planned to develop her into the best hunter and use her as a negotiating tool with the association. He acknowledged that even in this life, she was just a tool, just as she had been in his previous life. Oblivious to his thoughts and intentions, Kim Min-ju thanked him genuinely and offered her assistance if he ever needed it, which left him feeling uneasy. In any case, Kim Min-ju left the cleaning team, and within a day, the graffiti incident occurred. In an office at the headquarters branch, the two hunters sit together, making fun of the cleaner who had the audacity to request someone to look after the cleaning team's budget. They mock him, belittling the cleaning team's aspirations for the budget meant for the hunter team. Suddenly, without warning, Jun-Woo enters the room and delivers a powerful punch right across the face of one of the mocking hunters. The force of the blow sends him falling backward, while the other hunter jumps up in outrage. Jun-Woo raises his hand, ready to strike the second hunter as well. In retaliation, the second hunter activates his skill, called Necromancer. A menacing lich materializes, and the hunter confidently declares Jun-Woo's imminent death, convinced that the cleaner won't survive this encounter. The lich attacks Jun-Woo, but he swiftly ducks to avoid the strike. Enraged that a mere cleaner would dare to challenge a hunter, the hunter activates his unique skill called Death Attack. He concentrates his energy into a frizzing circle between his hands, vowing to ensure that Jun-Woo will never interfere with them again. Enraged, Jun-Woo slams the lich against the hunter, sending him crashing to the ground. Leaning over him, Jun-Woo sternly questions whether the hunter has not been trained and educated to avoid using skills outside of dungeons against ordinary people. The hunter begins to retort, but Jun-Woo, incensed that an E rank like him would dare to speak, raises his hand threateningly to strike the hunter. Instinctively, the hunter raises his hands to shield himself and apologizes profusely, trembling in fear. Jun-Woo, annoyed by the hunter's cowardice, scolds him, calling him a scaredy cat. Squatting down in front of the hunter, who is trembling in fear, Jun-Woo delivers a stern message. He reveals that from this day forward, the cleaning team will refuse to clean the dungeons they are assigned. He intends to expose all of the hunter's misdeeds to reporters and on the internet. Defiantly, the hunter protests that the association will not let this slide and will surely support the hunters. With a sinister glint in his eyes, Jun-Woo questions whether the hunter truly believes the association will cover up the actions of a mere E-rank small fry. He warns the hunter that if he wants to continue his job as it is, he should come find the cleaning team and apologize on his knees. When the hunter weakly protests further, Jun-Woo's tone turns thunderous as he suggests that the hunter should remove his badge and face him in a dungeon match. Right then, the door swings open and Soo-young steps into the room, drawn by the ruckus he heard. Jun-Woo turns to see him, puzzled because he believed Soo-young was on a business trip. He worries about the potential mess caused by Soo-young catching him in this situation. However, as Soo-young finds Jun-Woo, he transforms into a polite demeanor, inquiring about his unexpected presence. Jun-Woo, inwardly perplexed, wonders why Soo-young is suddenly being so respectful. Sheepishly, Soo-young asks if the budget from their previous encounter was insufficient. Despite his confusion, Jun-Woo seizes the chance to explain the situation. He describes how some of the hunters have been misbehaving while cleaning, tossing monster corpses haphazardly in the dungeons, and defacing walls with blood. He came to the hunters to check if there were any complaints about the cleaning team's actions. The injured hunter rushes to Soo-young's side, vehemently denying Jun-Woo's claims and accusing him of resorting to violence without reason. To the hunter's despair, Soo-young promptly silences him with a resounding slap across the face, chastising him for his blatant disrespect towards Jun-Woo. Turning his attention back to Jun-Woo, Soo-young appears nervous and apologizes on behalf of the unruly hunter. Jun-Woo remains utterly bewildered by the unfolding events, struggling to make sense of the situation. Nonetheless, he seizes the opportunity and requests that Soo-young be careful in preventing such incidents in the future. After their conversation, Jun-Woo takes his leave and begins to walk out of the office. Soo-young kindly wishes him to take care. Just before stepping out, he looks back over his shoulder and firmly advises Soo-young that it would be best if their paths did not cross again in the future. The situation has been settled. However, one lingering question remains unanswered: the abrupt change in Captain Lee Soo-young's attitude. Later that night, when he meets with Min-ju, Jun-Woo can't help but inquire if she has any insights into the matter. She mentions that she took a week off as well, but she can't recall anything specific that would explain the captain's change in behavior. In passing, she expresses her disdain for the E-rank hunters, labeling them as pathetic. Jun-Woo counters, stating that they did offer a sincere apology, and he scolded them severely, ensuring such behavior won't recur. Min-ju mentions that even if they wish to, they no longer have the opportunity and proceeds to disclose that it's because they were fired from their positions. This revelation takes Jun-Woo by surprise. Jun-Woo can't help but ponder if his words played a role in the E-rank hunters getting fired. It's almost unbelievable to him that the operations team hunters lost their jobs because of a comment from a mere cleaner. His mind revisits the strange politeness Soo-young had displayed earlier, leaving him questioning what might be going on behind the scenes. As he and the others approach the gate, they are met by a surprising sight: the hunters standing outside, bowing deeply and thanking them for their hard work. They even wish them luck for their next cleaning assignment. Jun-Woo, caught off guard, absent-mindedly praises the operations team for their efforts, not fully comprehending the unusual display of gratitude. This peculiar behavior becomes a recurring occurrence at every clearing. The hunters consistently wait for them and perform a full bow before departing, diligently collecting monster corpses and tidying up the boss room. So Yeon admits that she's struggling to get used to it, while Junta, with a decade of cleaning experience, expresses his amazement at witnessing something so unprecedented. Sung Hyuk jokes that the operations team might disappear in the wake of this newfound camaraderie, but Junta cautions him against being arrogant and points out that it's all because of Jun-Woo. Sung Hyuk, with a glance at Jun-Woo, assures him he's aware of his hard work. So Yeon chimes in, expressing her gratitude for having Jun-Woo on their side, but she can't help but feel a hint of worry lingering beneath the surface. Jun-Woo tries to process So Yeon's words, and she goes on to suggest that perhaps the E-rank hunters are intentionally lying low and avoiding him. They seem to be cautious around the team now, but she speculates that some of them might have their eyes on him. Considering her perspective, Jun-Woo recalls his earlier outburst and remarks that unless they are remarkably fearless, it should be fine for the time being. So Yeon expresses her relief, reassuring him that he hasn't done anything wrong. Sung Hyuk steps forward, his confusion evident. When Jun-Woo prompts him to continue, Sung Hyuk mentions the increase in their budget. After Jun-Woo confronted the director, the firing of the E-rank hunters with a single word, and now even the operations team acting cautiously around them. Reluctantly, he asks Jun-Woo if there's a chance he's allied with a powerful figure whom even the superiors dare not cross. Jun-Woo is taken aback by the implication, and then he bursts into laughter. He walks away from Sung Hyuk, amused, and dismisses the notion as nonsense, leaving Sung Hyuk seething behind him. Meanwhile, Soo-young, appearing incredibly exhausted, regards someone with wariness. This person, munching on snacks, notes that Soo-young is being cautious with the cleaning team. He remarks to Soo-young, who looks exasperated, that it appears the captain of the operations team is also wary of the cleaning team, suggesting sardonically that the organization is doing just fine. The individual in question is none other than Im Dong-bin, the captain of operations team 2, and Lee Soo-young's immediate senior. Annoyed by Im Dong-bin's playful banter, Soo-young admonishes him to stay quiet if he's not privy to the full story. He remains oblivious to the cleaner's true identity. Im Dong-bin casually takes a seat on the sofa and mentions that he's aware of the rumors linking Jun-Woo to the association president. He opines that relying on connections can be a risky path and suggests that if Soo-young had climbed the ladder with confidence like himself, he could have held a higher position without having to tread so cautiously. In a fit of anger, Soo-young urges him to leave if he's come to pick a fight. Im Dong-bin casually comments on Soo-young's temper and assures him that he'll handle the situation. He explains that he's willing to help with the issue concerning the cleaner who's recklessly leveraging his connections. Additionally, he sees this as an opportunity to assert his role as a senior. Soo-young inquires about Im Dong-bin's plans, to which Im Dong-bin slyly responds that he won't do anything too extreme and will play by the rules. He emphasizes that even the association president's connections can't cover up a critical mistake. Soo-young shoots up from his seat, visibly shocked, and asks if the cleaning team has done something wrong. Im Dong-bin, casting a sly glance over his shoulder, retorts that they should ensure they do. Vexed and uneasy, Soo-young wonders what kind of scheme Dong-bin is hatching. Dong-bin proceeds to ask if Soo-young truly intends to tread carefully around the cleaning team indefinitely, highlighting how an elite operations team leader shouldn't have to resort to such caution. Acknowledging the reality of the situation, Soo-young inquires about the conditions of Dong-bin's proposal. Satisfied that Soo-young is quick to catch on, Dong-bin reveals the task: ensuring the clearing of a massive multi-zone dungeon near Yangdianpo. Multi-zone dungeons are special, complex dungeons where each area's boss must be defeated to unlock the next. Ordinary ranked hunters are usually promoted to green ranked for this task, but it's a challenging mission as you cannot exit until all the bosses in all areas are defeated. It requires 1 month of preparation and another month for operational planning. Im Dong-bin insists that Soo-young should leave the dungeon's clearing to his team. Soo-young protests, claiming that this is too much. Dong-bin simply shrugs, leaning against his desk, and casually tells Soo-young that he can quit if he doesn't want to comply. He adds that the director has given his permission and expects them to work it out among themselves. Soo-young is well aware that Captain Im Dong-bin built his success by capitalizing on the achievements of others. However, this situation leaves Soo-young with no direct control over the cleaning team. Thus, he reluctantly agrees to the proposal, consoling himself with the thought that this won't be the only massive clearing opportunity. If this opportunist can manage the cleaning team, it might be worth it. Reluctantly, Soo-young asks Dong-bin to ensure that he doesn't get caught in any crossfire. Dong-bin agrees, commenting that Soo-young is as generous as he expected. He then brings up a hunter on Soo-young's team, Kim Min-ju, whose name Soo-young once mentioned as someone on the rise. Without missing a beat, Dong-bin requests to borrow her. Soo-young inwardly curses, wondering how Dong-bin got wind of this information. Annoyed and impatient, he gestures for Dong-bin to leave, telling him to figure it out himself. Meanwhile, Jun-Woo rides a public bus, a satisfied grin on his face as he checks his system window. He believes that things are now on a smooth course. Compared to the initial confusion upon his return, the situation has transformed, making it easier for him to unlock new skills as things progress smoothly. As Jun-Woo contemplates the conditions for unlocking new skills, he recalls that there haven't been any applicants for the cleaning team job for several months. Considering this, achieving the requirement of having 1 new employee seems impossible. He checks another condition, which states that he must engage in a joint project with other departments. In the past, this would have seemed absurd, but with the current state of the operations team, it appears feasible. Yet another condition involves raising wages, which still appears challenging to attain. Lastly, there's the condition of increasing interest in the dungeon cleaning team among ordinary citizens, a task he believes he can tackle when his phone suddenly rings. On the other end of the line, Kim Min-ju sounds flustered as she informs him that they are tasked with cleaning a multi-zone dungeon this time, and she has been selected as the leader of the clearing squad. Jun-Woo congratulates her on becoming the leader of such a large-scale clearing unit, but she urgently informs him that something more important has arisen. They want the cleaning team to participate in the mission as well. This revelation shocks Jun-Woo to his core. Inside the headquarters, resentful hunters gather to discuss their dwindling budget, the loss of their workspace, and now the looming threat of losing their jobs as well. They eye the cleaning team sitting behind them with disdain, and one embittered hunter comments that it's their own fault for lacking the right connections. Noticing Jun-tae's visible jitteriness and nervousness, So Yeon expresses her concern for his well-being. Meanwhile, Jun-Woo bristles with irritation at the hunter's derogatory remarks, considering the prospect of giving them a taste of their own medicine, especially since they are just B and C rank and yet are so arrogantly disrespectful. Confused, Jun-Woo points out to Min-ju that these individuals aren't part of Team 1, as he recalls that the Multizone dungeon was initially assigned to Team 1. Min-ju clarifies that it was originally supposed to be operated by their operations Team 1, but it seems that Lee Soo-young transferred the project to Team 2. Jun-Woo is incredulous that such a significant project was handed over to the next team, especially when he's certain they must have been preparing for it for at least 2 months. Min-ju speculates that she's not entirely sure, but it appears there was some kind of verbal exchange with the captain. Suddenly, the captain of Operations Team 2, Im Dong-bin, bursts into the room with an ostentatious entrance, loudly greeting everyone present. Jun-Woo gazes at him in surprise from his seat, finding it hard to believe that the person he is looking at is Im Dong-bin. Jun-Woo immediately recognizes Im Dong-bin. He remembers him as the man who poached some of his achievements when he was still a rookie and who was gaining a reputation for piggybacking onto other projects. Jun-Woo is both perturbed and angered to see Im Dong-bin as the current captain of Operations Team 2. Noticing Jun-Woo's agitation, Min-ju asks him what's wrong. He warns her that nothing good will come from associating with Dong-bin and advises her to stay away from him. Dong-bin proceeds to inform everyone that the estimated duration of the operation is 24 hours, emphasizing that they cannot exit a multi-zone dungeon until all the zones have been cleared. He adds that anyone who does not wish to participate should inform him by the end of the day. With this, he begins the briefing for the Yangdianpo zone. Dong-bin explains that there will be 3 groups involved in the clearing, and due to the 24-hour duration, the monster corpses will start to rot, releasing poisonous gas that could hinder the clearing process. This is where Dungeon Cleaning Team 3 will come into play, as they are tasked with preventing the gas from becoming a problem. Dong-bin mentions that, given the scale of the project, the cleaning team will receive a bonus as compensation. However, despite all these advantages, Jun-Woo shocks everyone by announcing his refusal to follow the plan. Dong-bin is taken aback, but Jun-Woo is resolute in his decision. He refuses to participate in a project that would only contribute to the fraudulent achievements of that person. He would rather die than go along with it. Jun-Woo's refusal perplexes the rest of the team. They can't understand why he turned down the opportunity, especially with the bonus involved. Sang-hyuk, in particular, thinks Jun-Woo should have eagerly accepted the chance instead of backing out. He looks toward Jun-tae, expecting him to take his side, but Jun-tae believes that Jun-Woo is genuinely concerned for their safety. Min-ju shares the same sentiment. She knows that despite the seemingly simple briefing, the operation is actually very dangerous, given that it will continue non-stop for 24 hours with a lot of monsters involved. She was actually considering stopping everyone from participating as well. Jun-tae agrees, convinced that Jun-Woo had their best interests at heart and would never lead them into a dangerous situation. Sung-hyuk and So-yeon also come to realize Jun-Woo's good intentions. Jun-tae decisively announces that their team won't be participating in the operation after all. Min-ju follows suit and declares that she's opting out as well. This shocks the cleaning team, as Min-ju is the leader of the operation, and they can't believe she's dropping out because of them. Min-ju assures them that she has her own reasons and that she doesn't feel ready to be a leader yet. Most importantly, she mentions that her teacher advised her not to get involved with Dong-bin, so she has no choice but to heed her teacher's counsel. Later, Soo-young is delighted to learn that Dong-bin was humiliated and left speechless. He wishes he could have witnessed it himself. He taunts Dong-bin, who is quietly sitting by his desk in the corner, reminding him gleefully that he had warned him about Jun-Woo and how he couldn't be controlled. Soo-young is impressed that Jun-Woo was able to quickly discern that something was amiss. Annoyed, Dong-bin tells Soo-young to leave if he's going to continue with that attitude, but Soo-young pays him no mind. He's curious about how Operations Team 2 will manage to complete the project now, especially since even Kim Min-ju has backed out. Soo-young asks Dong-bin if he plans to hire a private guild, mentioning that he himself had to spend 200 million won recently. In a sudden outburst, Dong-bin slams his hand on his desk and stands up, exuding an ominous air. He's determined to make use of the president's influence for once and issue a mandatory participation roster. A mandatory participation roster is an executive order that compels individuals to participate in a dungeon clearing, issued under the authority of a director from the association. Disobeying such orders can lead to disciplinary action or even a request to resign in lieu of dismissal. Dong-bin is furious at what he perceives as the audacity of a novice with no experience in operations. As a result, a few days later, Jun-Woo's cleaning team receives a mandatory participation roster and is forced to join the clearing. On the day of the operation, a large crowd gathers in front of the dungeon. This is expected, considering the magnitude of the dungeon clearing, and it naturally attracts significant media attention. Jun-Woo's cleaning team ponders whether they will be interviewed and whether they should have prepared for it in advance. Meanwhile, Kim Min-ju stands in a corner, wearing a dark expression. Jun-Woo notices her demeanor and asks her what's bothering her, especially since it's unusual for the leader of the operation to wear such a look. Min-ju explains that her nervousness is entirely understandable, considering it's her first time leading. Jun-Woo advises her to appear tough regardless, because appearing anxious might make the citizens uneasy. He can't help but wonder how she'll handle the actual battle if she's this nervous before it even begins. Minju assures him that she can be tough during a battle. However, Jun-Woo advises her not to pay attention to others once they enter the dungeon and to focus solely on clearing the monsters. Just in case of an emergency, Minju asks Jun-Woo to keep his transceiver on, and after some reluctance, he agrees. Jun-Tae then instructs the team to inspect their equipment. Jun-Woo confirms that they still have 10 liters each of hydrogen peroxide, hydrochloric acid, and saline solution, while So Yeon checks their vacuum compressors, condensed EVA film packs, goggles, and gas canisters. Their provisions and water are also in ample supply. Jun-Tae pumps up his team for the upcoming operation, and as they cheer, the operations team watches and makes fun of them. Dongbin arrives at that moment, his expression filled with disdain upon seeing Minju with the cleaning team. He informs her with feigned politeness that he will entrust the clearing of this dungeon to her. Behind them, So Yeon asks Jun-Woo whether Dongbin will be entering the dungeon with them as well. She had assumed he wouldn't come since Minju was leading the operation. Jun-Woo explains that, although it's not common, when a team captain enters a dungeon, they automatically become the leader. However, in some cases, as long as a hunter possesses the necessary qualifications, they can also be appointed as the leader. That's the case with Minju. Jun-Woo acknowledges that Minju has the talent to be a leader, but there's a reason Dongbin didn't take on the role. He lacks the experience of leading on the actual ground. Jun-Woo despises the fact that Dongbin is from the operations planning department and has no leadership experience, yet he has always been a parasite, living off of dungeon raids. Dongbin reassures Minju that he will be joining her on the ground, so there's no need for her to be anxious. He invites her to ask for his help if any problems arise. Minju casually nods and accepts his offer. Minju's passive attitude irritates Dongbin, but he decides not to dwell on it and continues with his instructions. He asks her to take care of the cleaning team and tells them to commence cleaning as planned. Jun-Woo's sarcastic expression further annoys Dongbin, and he wonders how long Jun-Woo will maintain his impertinent attitude toward him. Once everyone is present, Dongbin gives Minju the go-ahead, and she provides them with a briefing on their plan before they depart. The operation will involve 3 teams, A, B, and C team. A will be the first team to clear a zone, then Team B in the following zone, and finally Team C in the 3rd zone. They will follow this cycle until all zones are cleared. Minju informs the operations team that the cleaning team will also be participating in the operation. She assures them that the cleaning team members are all veterans, so they don't need to pay them much attention. However, in a life-and-death situation, she instructs them to request assistance from the cleaning team. The hunters react with confusion and disbelief, but Minju pays them no mind and confidently leads the way with her sword drawn. After a while, when the dungeon gate emits a green glow, Jun-Woo and his cleaning team also prepare to enter. There's a monster roaring just beyond the gates, but Jun-Woo remains unfazed, ready to face the challenge of clearing monsters. As they toil away in the dungeon, looking disheveled but resolute, So Yeon confesses that she had felt a bit anxious before they entered, but it's turning out to be more peaceful than she expected. Jun-Woo explains that this sense of tranquility stems from the fact that, despite the scale of this operation, they are just the cleaners. Chances are, they won't even cross paths with the operations team until everything is completed. Sung-hyuk, on the other hand, voices his frustration, questioning the point of participating in such a massive project when they can't witness any of the action. Jun-Tae firmly asserts that they should stick to their own roles. Now that the dismantling is complete, he instructs everyone to prepare for the chemical treatment. He emphasizes the importance of ensuring that nothing rots before the clearing is finished, so they must thoroughly treat the monster corpses before sealing them in vacuum-sealed vinyl bags. Seeing the annoyance on Sung-hyuk's face, Jun-Tae urges him to bear with it for now, emphasizing the need for extra caution given the scale of this project. Typically, when there are this many monster carcasses, they will incinerate them on the spot. However, that's not an option now, as the clearing is ongoing. To prevent the carcasses from decomposing, they employ the method of dismantling the corpses, chemically treating them, and then vacuum sealing them in bags. Exhausted and frustrated, Sung-hyuk groans, questioning when they will ever finish this task. Standing at the periphery, Jun-Woo finds himself wondering the same. Sung Hyuk's complaints escalate as he expresses his hunger, prompting an irritated response from Junta, who reminds him that they haven't been inside the dungeon for that long, and he's already looking for food. So Yeon steps in, producing some chocolate bars she had brought just in case, and suggests they have a snack before continuing. Sung Hyuk's spirits instantly lift at the prospect. She approaches Jun-Woo, considering whether to offer him one, but hesitates, knowing that he dislikes interruptions while working. However, Jun-Woo surprises her by glancing back with a serious expression and requesting the strawberry-flavored one. After their brief snack break, Junta energetically urges them to get back to work. Although this is their first major project as a team, everyone has experience in this line of work, so things have been progressing relatively smoothly. They simply need to carry on as they always have. However, as the hours pass, the situation takes a turn for the worse. While the operations team is effortlessly clearing the dungeon, the cleaning team finds itself in a vastly different predicament. By the 10th hour, fatigue begins to set in, and during the 15th hour, Han Sung-hyuk injures his hand while dozing off. There's also a moment when some sealed plastic bags accidentally burst, compounding their exhaustion. Slowly but steadily, the gap between the cleaning and operations teams widens significantly. During the 18th hour of their grueling work, the operations team contacts them via transceiver and alerts them to the increasing gas levels in the dungeon, urging them to do something about it. Junta, expressing apologies, mentions that they are lagging behind in terms of the number of zones cleaned and that they are currently in the 5th zone. The operations team member, however, reveals their progress, saying they've already cleared the 10th zone. Junta apologizes once more, explaining that they will take a 1-hour break and then resume cleaning as quickly as possible. The hunter from the operations team expresses his frustration, noting that the gap between the two teams is steadily widening, yet Junta seems more focused on taking a break. At this point, Jun-Woo steps in and takes the transceiver from Junta. He firmly informs the hunter that everyone on his team is exhausted and that continuing to work is currently impossible. Jun-Woo suggests that the operations team leader, Kim Min-ju, temporarily halt the clearing. The hunter replies that it's not possible since it would put them behind schedule. Jun-Woo emphasizes that his team is not in a condition to continue, to which the hunter retorts that it's their problem and their responsibility to figure out a solution. Jun-Woo suggests to the hunter on the transceiver that they should send the hunters who are currently resting to help them catch up. The hunter scoffs at the idea, questioning why a hunter would agree to do cleaning work. Jun-Woo's frustration and anger reach their boiling point, and he demands to speak to the team captain. A short while later, however, Captain I.M. Dong-bin confronts Jun-Woo, who stands before him seething, questioning why they can't recognize the elevated gas levels. He insists they should be catching up on their pending tasks instead of wasting time by making the trip to the operations team. Stepping up to face Dong-bin directly, Jun-Woo asks where Kim Min-ju is. Dong-bin questions why Jun-Woo needs to know, suggesting that he might be planning to shift the blame onto someone else. He reiterates that the dungeon clearing cannot be interrupted. Jun-Woo firmly asserts that they have been working tirelessly for 18 hours. Dong-bin, however, seems indifferent and asks if the team is unable to continue and wants to quit. Before Jun-Woo can respond, Dong-bin exclaims with alarming theatrics that a major dungeon clearing is on the brink of being ruined, all because of the cleaning team. He laments the weeks of hard work and preparation put into the project, including the impending loss of bonuses. He accuses them of neglecting their duty, insubordination, and abandoning their post during a raid. Haim Dong-bin continues with a sinister tone, suggesting that since it's the cleaning team's first time participating in an active clearing, they might not fully comprehend the gravity of the situation. To Dong-bin's astonishment, Jun-Woo begins to laugh. Amidst his laughter, Jun-Woo remarks that he found it strange and had been wondering why Dong-bin went to such lengths as to use a mandatory participation roster to bring the cleaning team here. Now he understands that it was Dong-bin's plan all along to find faults in any way possible so that he could impose disciplinary actions and break the spirit of the cleaning team. Jun-Woo accuses Dong-bin of being a despicable person who favors such methods. Enraged, Dong-bin shouts back, calling Jun-Woo conceited just because he has someone backing him. He firmly believes that even if the president of the association himself were to intervene, he wouldn't be able to cover this up. Jun-Woo scoffs, suggesting that the cleaning team can abandon the operation. He questions what the clearing team will do then, as the dungeon's gas level is still rising, preventing them from continuing. Dong-bin quickly reaches for his transceiver and calls for Kim Min-ju. Min-ju and her team are in the middle of battling a monster, and she's surprised by the sudden informality in Dong-bin's tone. Dong-bin informs her that they have a problem. The cleaning team is claiming they are abandoning the operation. Min-ju reacts with shock as she struggles to counter the monster's attack. Fuming with frustration, Dong-bin informs Min-ju that, at this rate, everyone will suffocate before they can complete the clearing. He declares that he will take command from this point forward and instructs her to hand over the leader position. Min-ju, confused and protesting, tries to resist the demand, but Dong-bin barks out firmly, insisting that she relinquish the position to him immediately. Jun-Woo observes that Dong-bin is still the same bully he was before, and there's no difference in his behavior then or now. Distracted by Jun-Woo's remark, Dong-bin looks at him, asking him to repeat what he said. Meanwhile, Min-ju inquires if it's true that the team won't continue cleaning. Jun-Woo addresses Min-ju directly, questioning whether she's had enough, or if she wants everyone to simply collapse and die. With the monster finally subdued, and the hunters behind her taking a moment to catch their breath, Min-ju pauses as she kneels down, contemplating the situation. Min-ju's momentary pause prompts Dong-bin to lose his patience and demand why she's taking so long. He tells her to hurry up and transfer command to him, insinuating that she might want everyone to perish here. He asks if she thinks she's important just because he let her be the leader once. In response, Min-ju conveys her understanding and willingness to hand over command. Dong-bin grins triumphantly, but his expression quickly changes when Min-ju utters the name of the dungeon cleaner, Kim Jun-Woo. Everyone freezes, turning their attention to Jun-Woo. She declares that she, Kim Min-ju, the current leader of the dungeon clearing, is handing command over to Kim Jun-Woo from Cleaning Team 3, starting immediately. Jun-Woo's eyes flash with a menacing glint, leaving the hunters utterly bewildered. He grins, realizing that it's been a while, and takes charge. He declares that from this moment onward, he will be in command of the operation, ready to show them what he was like when he was on active duty in his past life. For a brief moment, a heavy silence envelops the room, creating an atmosphere charged with tension. Then, unexpectedly, Dong-bin bursts into laughter, thoroughly amused by the irony that a dungeon cleaner is now in a leadership role, responsible for commanding dungeon clearing operations. However, as Jun-Woo steps forward, casting a towering presence over Dong-bin, the laughter fades. Dong-bin feels compelled to clarify that Jun-Woo seems to have misunderstood his position. He's the team captain, not a commander. Just because he was handed the leader's role doesn't mean he wields command authority. With remarkable composure, Jun-Woo counters Dong-bin's assertion, making it clear that he sees through the charade. Dong-bin's talk of hierarchy inside a dungeon doesn't fool him. He understands that the right command is paramount. Dong-bin, doubting Jun-Woo's credibility, asks if Jun-Woo is a hunter himself. In frustration, Jun-Woo exclaims, questioning why everyone keeps fixating on this question and whether it truly matters. In response, Dong-bin insists that it's of utmost importance because entrusting the leadership of a dungeon clearing team to a mere cleaner is a risky proposition. Lives are on the line, and disciplinary actions alone can't resolve such a critical situation. With a hint of sarcasm, Jun-Woo asks if Dong-bin is suggesting that responsibility should be placed in the hands of a seasoned veteran like him rather than a newcomer like Jun-Woo. Dong-bin impatiently nods in agreement, urging Jun-Woo to hand over the reins to him, promising to ensure the cleaning team avoids any punishments. Jun-Woo's response is rather nonchalant. He remarks that whether or not the cleaning team faces punishment is inconsequential. What truly weighs on him is the flood of unpleasant memories that resurface as he gazes at Dong-bin. He can't help but feel a profound sense of dismay, knowing that Dong-bin has led a comfortable life and achieved numerous successes effortlessly. Dong-bin nervously probes Jun-Woo for an explanation. Jun-Woo's demeanor takes a menacing turn as he informs Dong-bin that there's no need for him to take any further action. He is officially relieved from his duties in this operation. The shock registers on Dong-bin's face as his jaw drops, and a scream escapes his lips. Being dismissed in action is the gravest disciplinary measure, effectively stripping an individual of any benefits or performance incentives related to dungeon clearing. Dong-bin remains frozen in place, mouth agape. Jun-Woo attempts to bring some closure by lightly jesting about whether this is Dong-bin's first brush with disciplinary action. With a sigh, Jun-Woo distances himself from Dong-bin, who is sunk to his knees in disbelief. He speaks into the transceiver, introducing himself as Kim Jun-Woo, a member of Cleaning Team 3. He relays the message to all units, officially declaring that Team Captain I am Dong-bin is no longer part of the operation. He assures everyone that they should persevere a little longer and reminds them that Hunter Kim Min-ju has transferred command to him and they should now follow his lead. Turning his attention to Teams B and C, who are currently on break, Jun-Woo directs them to assist the cleaning team. In response, a chorus of protests erupts as team members emphasize their status as hunters, rejecting the idea of being relegated to cleaning duty. Without hesitation, Jun-Woo delivers a stern order that both Teams B and C will also face official dismissal from the operation due to their insubordination. The announcement sends shockwaves through the ranks of the hunters, who react with a mix of disbelief and outrage. Meanwhile, Jun-Woo maintains his composure as he communicates with Team A through the transceiver. Hunter Min-ju responds, and he updates her on the situation, highlighting the significant decrease in their numbers. He then queries their progress in clearing the 11th zone. Min-ju confirms that they are indeed in the 11th zone, but adds a concerning detail. They've encountered a formidable monster immune to attacks. Jun-Woo immediately identifies the creature as a bear and provides a solution. He instructs Min-ju to position the Guardian-class hunter at the front lines and have the healer focus their buff skills on that hunter. After the immunity to attacks period expires, he advises Min-ju to unleash the Vanguard's assault, relying on those with high physical attributes to absorb the brunt of the damage, assuring her that it won't be too painful. Jun-Woo concludes by asking if she has been training her left-hand grip. Min-ju confirms her preparation, and Jun-Woo encourages her to give it a try. Min-ju swiftly relays Jun-Woo's orders to her team, and they move into the positions he prescribes. Following the instructions meticulously, the hunter focuses her relentless attack, while the healer diligently applies buffs. The menacing bear growls and launches an attack, but it's thwarted by the combined efforts of the team. Min-ju leaps into action, positioning herself between the bear and her team, sword at the ready. With precision, she activates her skill, Circle Counter, dealing a swift and powerful blow before gracefully moving aside. Blood spills from the monster, but it still stands, emitting a menacing growl. Min-ju gazes at it with a hint of concern, but victory is assured as the beast collapses moments later. She promptly communicates to Jun-Woo via the transceiver that Zone 11 has been cleared. The news stuns the other hunters who hear it. Jun-Woo, his eyes filled with determination and confidence, speaks into the device, declaring that they will clear everything within the next 50 minutes. Min-ju continues to provide updates as she progresses. Jun-Woo, in turn, continues to issue instructions. He informs them that the 12th zone contains ghost-type monsters, rendering physical attacks useless. Swordsman-class hunters should hold back, while Magician-class hunters should refrain from using intermediate skills, instead deploying their most potent abilities. The subsequent zone is an illusionary one, and he advises Healer-class hunters to activate all their purification skills. There's no need to engage closely. They should focus on hit-and-run tactics, doing their best to succeed. The hunters gathered around Jun-Woo continue to regard him with a mixture of disbelief and astonishment. They find it challenging to reconcile the image of a cleaner with the commanding presence he now exhibits. leaving them to wonder if there's more to him than meets the eye. Lying calmly on the floor, Jun-Woo continues to issue instructions, now focusing on the final zone. He advises all the battling hunters to unleash their skills simultaneously, believing it should be sufficient to defeat the monster. However, a voice on the line objects, claiming it's impossible. Jun-Woo presses them, demanding to know what's so impossible about it. The hunter explains that their skills are considerably weaker due to exhaustion, and their stamina levels have plummeted. Annoyed, Jun-Woo questions how hunters of their caliber can't bring down the creature. He then rises to his feet and begins to walk away, instructing them to hang on, endure a bit longer, and above all, not to die. Meanwhile, Min-ju gives her all in her attempt to strike the ogre monster. However, she quickly realizes that this is no ordinary foe. It stands on a different level compared to the ones they've encountered so far. She observes that the ogre possesses high endurance and an unusual speed that belies its size. With a daring leap, she manages to evade its grasp momentarily, but the golem retaliates with a powerful blast, sending her tumbling backward. Min-ju falls to the ground, her body aching from the encounter, when a shadow falls over her. She's relieved to see Jun-Woo extending a hand to her. Assuming he's offering to help her get back to her feet, she insists that she can handle it, asserting her toughness. However, instead of aiding her, Jun-Woo calmly requests her sword. She pauses for a moment, puzzled, and reluctantly hands it over. Another hunter comes to her assistance, helping her up as she looks at Jun-Woo with a disappointed expression. Meanwhile, Jun-Woo stands resolute in front of the giant rock ogre. He hadn't expected to encounter a red-class monster here, and he admits to himself that he feels a tinge of intimidation. Nonetheless, his confidence prevails as he activates a skill he managed to unlock through a joint project with other departments, an ability called over-immersion. This skill significantly improves the effectiveness of a skill that the caster uses in combat. As the ogre unleashes a powerful punch at Jun-Woo, he swiftly ducks, charging his sword with potent energy. Raising the sword high, he strikes with precision and force, landing a formidable blow. The hilt of the sword connects with the ogre, inflicting a critical hit that makes the massive creature roar in agony. Without a moment to spare, Jun-Woo darts forward with lightning speed. The ogre can only watch in wide-eyed astonishment as he activates his skill called Hellfire and combines it with Circle Counter and the already activated Over-Immersion. With this powerful combination of skills, he raises his sword and brings it down with immense force. The ogre lets out a blood-curdling scream, then erupts in a fiery explosion, engulfed in thick smoke. The hunters who had been watching from the sidelines with Min-ju stand there in dumbfounded shock. They can't fathom what they'd just witnessed and begin to question who this guy really is. They find it inconceivable that he could be a mere cleaner and decide that they need to scout him immediately. Jun-Woo, now covered in dirt from the explosion, looks somewhat vexed at his state amidst the monster's ruins. Min-ju reflects on Jun-Woo's values, believing that for him, being where he wants to be and working with his cherished comrades is enough. In the world of hunters, what matters most is not money, honor, or power, but rather skills, stats, and equipment, things that hold little significance to ordinary people. Recent reports have revealed Team Captain I.M. Dongbin's dismissal in action during the extensive Yangdianko operation the association organized. Even more damning, it has come to light that I.M. Dongbin was involved in misappropriating the performance bonus funds of fellow employees. With a news window displayed on his phone, Director Seo Min-cheol fumes in anger at I.M. Dongbin, demanding an explanation for how a team captain could end up dismissed during such a critical operation. Standing meekly before the irate director alongside Su Yang, Dongbin offers his apologies and tries to explain that it was all because of a collaboration between Kim Min-ju and that cleaner. However, the director doesn't allow him to finish and instead roars in a fit of rage, his voice dripping with contempt, demanding to know who Dongbin thinks he's fooling. He questions whether Dongbin genuinely believes that nobody knows he attempted to steal Kim Min-ju's achievements. Panicking, Dongbin vehemently denies this accusation, challenging the director and asking if he's attempting to shift all the blame onto him. He reminds the director that he had also given his approval for that mandatory roster, trying to shift some responsibility away from himself. The director's anger escalates, and he violently grabs a handful of Dongbin's hair, his eyes blazing with fury. He interrogates Dongbin, asking if he seriously considers them friends now. He scorns the idea that Dongbin believes he's something special just because Soo-young treats him with seniority. Dongbin looks up at Seo Min-cheol in sheer horror as Min-cheol emphasizes that there's no way to sweep this situation under the rug, especially with the media already aware of it. He orders Dongbin to go back and write a report while they await a final decision. As soon as he's released, Dongbin scurries away, cowering in the face of Min-cheol's wrath. Meanwhile, Soo-young nervously suggests to Dongbin that he should inform the cleaner that they assisted him in this predicament. Min-cheol, still fuming, curses under his breath and turns to Soo-young. He asks for Soo-young's opinion on the idea of appointing punter Kim Min-ju as the new team captain. Dongbin and his followers in Team 2 receive their punishments, with the most notable being Dongbin's demotion. For a hunter, this was akin to being fired. Consequently, the vacant position is offered to Kim Min-ju. The members of the cleaning team offer their congratulations to Min-ju, with So-yeon presenting her with a bouquet of flowers. Touched by their gesture, her eyes shimmering with gratitude, she becomes emotional and sincerely thanks them, tears welling up in her eyes. Min-ju acknowledges that she should have approached him first, but everything had been happening so rapidly. Jun-tae reassures her that it's not a big deal, and Sung-hyuk explains to So-yeon that she's now an operations team captain on the same level as Captain Lee Soo-young. Blushing slightly, Min-ju modestly points out that it's an exaggeration. While they may hold the same rank, there's a significant difference in their experience. With cheerful spirits, Min-ju observes that the office seems a bit emptier now. Jun-Woo shrugs, remarking that there's not much she can do about it since so many people were dismissed at once. Min-ju regretfully notes that only 17 members remain, and it feels as if the team has been given up on. She can't help but wonder if that's the reason they chose her to lead the team. With his back turned to her, Jun-Woo comments that excessive humility can be deceptive. Not just anyone can become a team captain, so she should take some pride in it. Min-ju is grateful for his words, not realizing that Jun-Woo is internally struggling with bitterness and jealousy, lamenting that he didn't become a team captain until he was 30. She expresses her gratitude, mentioning that even though she's a team captain now, she still considers herself part of his team. Turning to face her, Jun-Woo advises Min-ju not to make such comments in front of her team members, even accidentally. He points out that other hunters might not react well to the revelation that their captain used to be a cleaner. He also reminds her that the entire team almost faced severe repercussions because of his actions. At that moment, 3 hunters enter the room, announcing their presence. They come to a sudden halt when they notice the cleaning team and express their shock. Quickly, they bow in a show of respect and greetings, leaving everyone surprised. Introducing themselves, the 3 hunters cause Sung-hyuk and So-yeon to become flustered. Hong Jae-yeon from Operations Team 2 expresses her honor at meeting them, and Lee Jin-ho, also from Operations Team 2, concurs. The 3rd hunter, eyes shining with admiration, declares Jun-Woo's excellence during their last operation. The 3 hunters strike a pose, expressing their determination and requesting that Jun-Woo consider them teammates. They offer their assistance, urging the cleaning team to reach out whenever they need help. Slightly annoyed, Jun-Woo turns to Min-ju, who is laughing heartily, and questions if there's something unusual about these hunters. Min-ju, full of determination and hope, assures him that even headquarters won't be able to easily meddle with him now, so he should relax and continue clinging to his heart's content. A short while later, Min-ju mentions that it's almost time for a particular person to arrive. Curious, Jun-Woo inquires about this person, and she informs him that the support team mentioned an assistant would be joining them today. Jun-Woo acknowledges that she's now an honorable team captain. Turning to gaze out the window, he reflects internally on how having an assistant is an exclusive perk for an operations team captain. He recalls the significant assistance he received from one during his time as a team captain. Suddenly, realization dawns on him, and his eyes widen. His full-time assistant during his active duty was Lee A-yeong. She was the one who was with him on the day he died, and she had been by his side for the longest duration. He suspects that, by this point, Manager Lee should already be working in the association. Feeling a sense of urgency, he turns to Minju and asks about the assistant's name. She admits that she doesn't know. Turning back to his thoughts, Jun-Woo decides it's best to forget about it. He doubts he has anything to say to her, and it's unlikely she would recognize him in this altered timeline. Meanwhile, Jun-tae suggests that they should get going if Minju is expecting to meet someone. The cleaning team begins to bid farewell to Minju as they prepare to leave. Jun-Woo, still appearing annoyed and preoccupied, eventually moves towards the door. However, as he opens it, he finds a nervous-looking, bespectacled woman standing right outside. She introduces herself as Song Hae-yeon from the support team, assigned as the assistant for team captain Kim Min-ju. Clearly irritated, Jun-Woo looks down at her and bluntly states that he is not Kim Min-ju. Nonetheless, he steps aside, allowing Song Hae-yeon to enter, though she appears flustered. Awkwardly, Min-ju clarifies that she is indeed Kim Min-ju. At the doorway, Jun-tae urges Jun-Woo to hurry up or they will be late. Reluctantly, Jun-Woo turns and walks away, realizing that the assistant before him is not the one he was expecting. Later that evening, Song Hae-yeon looks utterly exhausted and resentful. She remarks that the association is unforgiving, promoting her to an assistant role just 2 months after she was hired. Another woman approaches her, noticing her expression, and asks if her boss isn't as nice as she had anticipated. Song Hae-yeon looks up and immediately recognizes Deputy Manager Miss Lee A-yeong, who inquires if she has been assigned to Captain Kim Min-ju of Operations Team 2, the team that almost faced disbandment. Nervously, Song Hae-yeon confides that Kim Min-ju is a good person, but speculates that the director must not really care about her, considering she was made an assistant so early in her career. Leaning in closer, Lee A-yeong advises her that being under Seo Min-cheol's radar means she's already doing an excellent job. Song Hae-yeon looks up, puzzled, and Lee A-yeong emphasizes that she's dead serious. She wishes her good luck, and adds that she's heard that the team captain, Kim Min-ju, has a good relationship with that cleaner, who supposedly has the backing of the association president. Lee A-yeong suggests that if Song Hae-yeon is smart, she should seize the opportunity and never let him go. However, Song Hae-yeon remembers Jun-Woo's thunderous expression earlier and vents her frustration, describing him as ill-tempered and continuing to express her grievances against him. Listening patiently, Lee A-yeong acknowledges that he has been putting in a lot of effort for the cleaning team. She mentions hearing that he managed to secure a budget for his team and even took action against the operations team members who mistreated the cleaning team members. However, Song Hae-yeon scoffs and dismisses these accomplishments as mere efforts to boost his reputation. She believes that as soon as a major problem arises, he will likely shift all the blame away from himself. Lee A-yeong takes this in and admits that she's now becoming curious about the kind of person he truly is. Meanwhile, deep within the dungeon, Jun-Woo experiences a strange sensation, as if someone has been talking behind his back. He keeps fidgeting and picking at his ears. We really hope that you enjoyed this manhwa. Make sure to like and subscribe for more.